GNCC on Racer TV returns this weekend for the Hoosier GNCC, and it is Stu Baylor finally grabbing that first win of the season. And just like that, we have ourselves a championship hunt. Johnny Gerard, still your points leader with 3 wins on the year, and coming off a podium finish, sits atop the points standings. And how about it for Jordan Ashburn, getting a second place in the home state and really showing it in the body language. He wanted that win. He's going to be hungry here today. And how about it for Craig DeLong, getting a 4th place, a move in the right direction for Craig. Can he turn it around today, maybe get a win, if not a podium? All that and more starts right here, right now on RacerTV.com.
Are you ready to go? GNCC Racing!
Good afternoon and welcome to round number 6 of the 2024 Progressive Grand National Cross Country Racing Series, presented by Specialized, your AMA National Championship. We are here in Crawfordsville, Indiana, better known as Ironman Raceway, for the AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC. Johnny, we're back, GNCC. A different winner. Stu Baylor finally getting the job done, and just like that, we got ourselves a championship race.
Yeah, you know, we've been waiting for it all season. We've been talking about it. You know, if Stu Baylor wants to get in this championship fight, truly in it, he needs to start grabbing wins, and he did just that with a very commanding performance at that, coming from the back, working his way through the pack, and sustaining heavy pressure down the stretch from Jordan Ashburn to get that win done. And you could really see the excitement and almost a sense of relief from Stu Baylor. No question. Once that man gets some rolling momentum, he's dangerous, and he did just that 2 weeks ago in Tennessee.
Yeah, getting the job done, a much-needed win for him. Johnny Gerard, obviously still our points leader with that reverse plate here this weekend. But as you mentioned, Jordan Ashburn, his home state, basically hometown, just a stone's throw from there. And you could see in the body language of Jordan Ashburn post-race, man, he wanted that win. I think 2 sides of that. 1, you want to do it for the home state, home fans, and all your friends and family that are there watching you. 2, we were talking prior to the last race, very reminiscent of his championship season, where he was kind of quietly lurking in the back, clicks off a couple wins. Next thing you know, he's in the championship conversation. This season still seems to be kind of that, going that way for Jordan. He, like Stu, just needs like a win to kind of get that ball rolling for him.
I actually think the ride that Jordan had 2 weeks ago was good enough. Not just good enough, was a great ride, and that in and of itself is enough to get the ball rolling. He not only was so close to the win, but we really just saw a lot of aggressive, confident riding out of Jordan. He's been riding well through 2024 for sure, but that was Jordan on another level. Call it home state confidence, call him whatever you may be. He's a former GNCC XC1 and overall champion. This guy's got the chops to get the job done, and that was a tale of 2 stories there. You know, he had Jordan just so dejected at the finish line, and I think, I at least made the mistake with about 10 minutes left to go in that race of saying, Stu's got this one in the bag. The gap was just bigger than what we thought would be able to be bridged, and next thing you know, a couple mistakes from Stu Baylor, and then it was just, oh no, is Stu going to throw this one away? And Jordan was so energized. We saw him just push and wring everything out of that Coastal Racing gas to bring it right down to the wire. So I think carrying that momentum in here today, I think he could be dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got to show some love to our buddy Craig DeLong on that Rockstar Energy Husky. A 4th place finish just off the box, but certainly a move in the right direction for our defending champion. Kind of almost a moral victory for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And after the race, it seemed like Craig was pretty pleased. I wouldn't say he was thrilled. Sure. He's a guy that wants to win races, knows he needs to win races. If there's any chance left whatsoever to defend that championship. But the reality of it is, I mean, a 4th place, that's his best finish so far in 2024. And he rode well. He was in the mix and definitely said he knows some things he can work on coming into today. So we'll see if he can get up in the fight and put himself in a position to battle for a win.
Absolutely. And rounding out that top 5, show some love to the former Hoosier Mike Wachowski with a 5th place finish. Great day for him.
Yeah, and I think show some love is an understatement. I mean, that class, when you get to that level of XC1, and right now, everybody's healthy with the exception of Ben Kelly. Everyone else is out there and battling. You get in the top 5. I mean, you've really done something. Obviously a former XC2 winner, standout amateur racer for many years, but to get to that top level and in his first full year in the class, to get a top 5 finish, I mean, the next step is putting it on the box, and you never know. That could happen in his home state here today.
Hey, no doubt about it. XC2, the young whippersnapper, Grant Davis, man, making grown man moves out there. New points leader, having a sensational day just a couple of weeks ago in Tennessee.
Yeah, and I think right now the question for these XC2 guys, if your name is not Grant Davis, is going to be what do we need to do to keep this kid from gaining any more momentum? He obviously was a sought-after amateur rider, came into the XC2 class last year, mixed bag of results, a lot of inconsistency, kind of just trying to find the pace, find out what things were like that close to the front of a GNCC. Had some good rides, but definitely had some mistakes, and this year it's just been, it seems like every other race he's just doing, like you said, grown man things, a new maturity, riding well, smooth, whether he's got to battle somebody to the end or if he's able to just get out front, pull away. He's not won all the races, but he's just been at the front and in the mix. Surely a disappointing day for Angus Reardon. He had some issues off the start, had to battle through some bike damage, but the crew and he did a great job of salvaging points with the 7th place finish. Did relinquish the points leader, reverse plate, but at the same time still very much in the mix. And obviously Liam Draper on the podium in 3rd there, our defending champion, trying to get himself back in the mix, and after some frustrating rides and some issues, to be in the mix for a championship battle.
Yeah, and then in addition to Liam Draper putting it on the box, of course, Josh Toth, who's not racing every round this year, but nonetheless, when he shows up, we know we're going to get a great race out of him. Ended up 2nd on the day as well.
Yeah, making history just a few weeks ago, and then coming out and putting it on the box again. Not racing with us here today, but we will be seeing him more as the season goes on.
Looking forward to it, and want to highlight that FMF XC3 real quick. Dakota DeVore grabbing another win there. A lot of guys getting in the mix there.
Yeah, it's an exciting class, and if you love the smell of premix, then you got to get out there and listen to those things wing ding, and it's a lot of fun watching those guys absolutely ride the wheels off those small bore machines, and it's never short of action.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Hey, you've heard enough from us. We want to see what our riders are going to face here today at the Hoosier GNCC, and for that, we will throw it to Jared Bolton with a Yamaha track description.
Well, thanks, guys. Back here at Ironman Raceway for the not Ironman. This is the Hoosier. And this race is always a little bit different. When you come to the Ironman in the fall, the leaves are all off the trees. Everything looks very like it's fall. When you're here in the spring, well, it looks like a spring. Everything's really green, and the track's different, too. There's a lot of farmland around here, so those big field sections we use for the Ironman, they're not in for the Hoosier. They've got those fields planted already. You have the one big field section, but other than that, all the other fields are planted. That puts us in the woods almost the entire time. Now, what's that mean for the racetrack? It actually shortens it up a little bit. Without those field sections, the mileage gets a little bit shorter. You're in some different woods, link it together different. You're zigzagging a whole lot. It sort of slows things down a little bit, but since the trees grow so far apart here, it's still a little bit on the fast side. Then, of course, we got a little bit of rain for the ATV race, but it's dried out phenomenally for today's bike race. And guess what? These guys are actually in for a really good ride this afternoon. That's this weekend's track description. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Jared, for that detailed breakdown of what these riders are going to be facing out there today. What we know they're going to be facing first is they got to get off the line. We're going to let this guy right here, Mikey Waynes, get down to the starting line, do some 10-second calls, and we will be back with all of the live racing action here on Racer TV.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. Stu's wanted to be in this position all season long. He finds himself here right now. Jordan's got a rebound, strike back quickly. He really has kind of put it all together after what was not a great start. I believe second to last into the woods.
Oh, Stu Baylor down
again. This time a little more gnarly. Now Stu Baylor cannot afford to make another one of those mistakes. And for the first time this season, Stu Baylor with a P1.
There's so much that goes into lining up for these races and being prepared to making sure that your pit crew's ready, your motorcycle's ready, that you made the right decision on your suspension, your engine, your clutch. There's so many little things that are overlooked. And that's the most difficult part for me, is making sure that I don't miss any of those small details.
No, I don't know how to back down, how to back down. No, I don't know how to back down, how to back down. No, I don't know how to back down, how to back down. No, I don't know how to back down, how to back down. I am a fighter. I am a fighter.
It is going to be the 282 Phoenix Racing Honda of Mike Wachowski grabbing that Steel City Medical Center holeshot award.
There's so much that goes into it for a good result that you got to make sure you dot your I's, cross your T's.
Stu Baylor leading the way. Still, Mike Wachowski just behind him there in second. Here it is. Mike Wachowski getting it done. The last-minute pass over Liam Draper. Indiana boy Mike Wachowski on that Phoenix Racing Honda gets it ddone, grabs the win.
Yeah, the Hoosier's my favorite. I had my best result there last year. Got first in XC2 and third overall, so that was really good for me and the team and everything, and I'm excited.
I am a fighter. I am a fighter. I am a fighter.
So it is the 969 of Johnny Gerard leading the way.
6 rounds of racing, 6 different winners, and getting it done here at the Hoosier GNCC will be Johnny Gerard.
The Hoosier, my first ever overall win. You know, good memories. I like that track. We got some good history, and I'm ready to go back.
Since the day I was born a fighter, I rise up, like smoke from a gun, like a brand new sun. Since the day I was born a fighter, I rise up, I rise up, I rise up, I rise up. Since the day I was born a fighter, I am a fighter.
And good afternoon and welcome to everybody at home watching live on RacerTV.com as you're tuning with us here to round number 6 of the 2024 GNCC season. We are ready for our pro rider introductions. Without further ado, rolling to the line first. Your points leader for 2024 through today, the 969 out of North Carolina, aboard the FMF Factory Racing KTM, Johnny Gerard. Rolling to the line next, coming off his first win of the season, the 514 out of Hodges, South Carolina, on the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Red Bear Kawasaki, Stu Baylor. Rolling to the line next in what was a tough battle back in the home state of Tennessee, the number 3 out of Livingston, Tennessee, aboard the Coastal Racing Factory Gas, Jordan Ashburn. And rolling to the line next, the 3-1-4. Out of South Carolina, aboard the Babbitts Online Monster Energy Team Green Kawasaki, the Grizzly Grant Baylor. And rolling to the line next, finishing just off the box, getting things turned around, your defending champion, the #1 out of Morgantown, Pennsylvania, aboard the Rockstar Energy Factory Racing Husqvarna, Craig DeLong. And rolling to the line next, the 282 rider out of North Carolina, aboard the Phoenix Racing Honda, Mike Wachowski. And rolling to the line next, the 739 out of Morganton, North Carolina, aboard the Rockstar Energy Factory Racing Husqvarna, Trevor Bollinger. And rolling to the line next, the 178, a rider out of Australia, riding aboard the Babbitts Online Monster Energy Team Green Kawasaki, Lyndon Snodgrass. Rolling to the line next, another rider out of Australia on that JS Sherco Racing back Sherco, Josh Strang. And rolling to the line next, the 336 out of North Carolina on a Coastal Racing Factory gas rider, Lafferty. And up next, the 347 out of Jefferson, Georgia on an Active Air Max Motorsports and FXR backed Husqvarna, Evan Smith. And rolling to the line, last but certainly not least, the 523 Lane Michael. And it's Lane Michael's little daughter's 1-year birthday today. Woo! Why not celebrate with a podium, Lane Michael? Let's do it, baby. Let's do it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your starting row for the XC1 Pro Class. I might have you move right past this line if you don't mind. And now all attention will go down into turn number 1, where the maestro Ricky Towery will take the reins of this race. And we go as Ricky goes. This is where we normally like to say, DJ Judd, remove the meat. If you're just tuning in for the first time this weekend, it was muddy coming into it. Judd opted to stay out there on the side. We said, all right, the party goes on. No problem. But regardless, we got to show some love to the Monster Energy Activation Transport, better known as a meat. I got to have you guys back there. XC1 Pro Class, row number 1, Stu Baylor coming off his first win of 2024. Johnny Gerard still in the driver's seat. And boy, just an absolute heck of a ride and effort out of Jordan Ashburn, finishing second place, showing some emotion. Wasn't real happy about the finish. 1 minute. 1 minute until we're ready to go. GNCC Racing, as all eyes now fixate on Ricky Towery as he steps out onto the track. Ricky Towery will now look down at his watch to keep an eye on the time. And the blue flag waves, shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. As we are just about ready to roll now, and I gotta ask you, Indiana, are you ready to go GNCC Racing? Ooh, that's pretty good, baby, but I know we can do better than that. We got us a hot championship rolling into town today. I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you ready to go GNCC Racing? 10 seconds. seconds for row number 1, the XC1 Pro. Bang, and they're off. Johnny Gerard up there with Craig DeLong on the inside. They jockey for position and around the outside. Who's it going to be? 969 to the naked eye. 969 gets credited for the hole shot. The Steel City Medical Center Hole Shot Award going to the 969 points leader of Johnny Gerard. But boy, it was close. Evan Smith up in the fight. XC2 250 Pro class coming up next. Steel City Medical Center Hole Shot Award up for grabs for the XC2. And Ricky Towery now steps out. Blue flag waves, and we are just about ready now for the XC2. Rui Barbosa, Angus Reardon, Cody Barnes, Liam Draper, 10 seconds. Toby Cleveland, Brody Johnson, Jesse Ansley, Jaden Donners, Jason Liscombe, Leighton Small, Grant Davis, and Bad Thad Duval. Oh, Grant Davis up in the mix. Number 99, Cody Barnes on that Phoenix Racing Honda. Grabbing a whole shot, an early lead right there for the XC2. There's a man. We're going to call it a home race for him. Why not? 10 seconds. FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am. Zachary Davidson, James Chern III, Dakota DeVore, Sawyer Karatura, Owen Barnes, Jack Walker, Joe Shriver, and Dustin Simpson. They call the man Dirt Bike Jesus. 927 on cue on that Armored Graphics and Maxxis-backed Yamaha. Dustin Simpson grabbing the low jacks. Hole shot. 10 seconds. 258. Ryan Piper, JoJo Cunningham, Cooper Jones, Bubs Tasha, Jason Tino, T-Rex, Nick DeFeo, Gavin Simon, Hunter Bush, Will Steven Piper, Austin Alcorn, Nicholas Cutlass, Zach Dove grabbing a hole shot. Oh, T-Rex stole his lunch money. Maybe by a wheel. Relinquishes the lead, but nonetheless grabs the holy. Open A, 10 seconds. Dylan T. De La Cruz, Kenton Coleman, Samuel Evans, Aiden White, Alex Luger, Jason Crawford, Riley Johnson, Trevor Hewlin, Jackson Davis, Luke Brown, Cole Whitmer, TJ Golden, Hunter Smith. No doubt about it, Mercy Sakes Alive. That's a 4-3-3 of Jackson Davis out of Kilgore, Texas. Grabbing a hole shot and early lead right there. 10 seconds. Four-stroke A-Lights, Colton Shields, Van Adams, Robert DeLea the fourth, Rivers Morris, Chase Landers, Garrett Mundy, Ty Ely, Brady Beerbaum, Joshua Connor, Caleb Baltimore, Isaiah Brown, Colin Johnson. 066 it looked like. I believe that was Robert DeLea out of Noblesville, Indiana on that Westfield Power Sports back ride. 10 seconds. 158, David Johnson, Tyler Shields, Tucker Kenry, Keaton Noltcamper, Rayleigh Messer, Mason Tuttle, Michael Meyer, Walker Morris, Braden Hashman, Jacob Bolin, and Kiefer Galliano. Oh, we got more lunch money getting stolen out here. That's a 3-3-3 of Rayleigh Messer out of Beaver Dam, Kentucky on that Don Adams Towing and Recovery back ride. Vene 30 plus, ready to roll in 10 seconds. Robbie Norwood, Kevin Depew, Tim Carpenter, Raymond Morehouse, Benjamin Lawrence, Daniel Sims, Benjamin Schmidt, Keegan Schmidt, Ryan Kassmeyer, Gregory Funk. Who's got the funk? Gregory's got the funk. Here they come, 103, grabbing a hole shot. That's going to be Kevin Depew on that SRT off-road back Husqvarna. Reset the deck, 10 seconds. Senior A 40 plus, Frank Messina, Cody Hosta, Andy Shea, Buddy Barnes, and Darren Darmos. Woo, tight racing out front. Round turn number one we go into the hole shot area. Who wants it? Oh, ooh, that one was too close to call. Side by side, handlebar to handlebar, just how we like it. Junior A, 25 plus, 10 seconds. Andrew Boggs, Braden Moore, Mario Tonchev, Jeremy Wallstrom, Russell Smith, Benjamin Fricks, Matthew Dreyer, Joshua Tack, Aaron Higgins, Corey Jordan, and Matthew Bell. 177 out front, 225 or 255 will challenge. And I believe that was Russell Smith grabbing that one at the last second. 250B, ready to roll. 10 seconds. Devin Moore, Kevin Paquin, Dustin Seeley, Hayden Harris, Briar Menace, Lucas Rubenstein, Austin Sakanikis, Colton Oakcamper, and Logan Pellegrini. Good and clean through turn number 1, grabbing a hole shot. 417, might have been the 412 actually. Hayden Harris on that MWXC and Westfield Power Sports back ride out of Danville, Indiana. 10 seconds. Open B, Nate Garrison, Chris Gates, Robert Hamrick, Blake Freiberger, Nathaniel Gibbs, Clayton Pratt, Dylan Fleming, Caleb Hagan, Colton Painter, and Hayden Jones. 522 out in front. That's going to be the 522 on the helmet. Caleb Hagan out of Tompkinsville, Kentucky on that Factory Connection back ride. 4-stroke B lights. Ready to roll in 10 seconds. Corbin Johnson, TJ Brown, Jacob Mitchell, Hunter Harder, Jacob Connor, Jack Algery, Joseph Shalott, Meatball, Jacob McPherson, and the man is out in front. Keenan Rupp, Wiley Tucker, and Bryce Woodrum. Meatball grabs a hole shot, a checkup from the neck up, doing it with style. He got a new haircut that his buddies gave him. He's single, ladies. 10 seconds. 150B, Jason Schlegel, Landon Phillips, Gavin Hampton, James Simpson, Nico Prasuti, Jaden Ferris, Jarman Lilly, Mason Sakanikis, and James Meeks. Here we go, 107 out in front. Going to be the 415 on the helmet sticker for scoring. That's James Simpson. Man, guy's a whole shot machine on that Running Lights beverage back ride. 10 seconds. Vet B, 30 plus. Kyle Davis, Michael Jarosco, Levi Berry, Zachary Floyd, Jason Kors, Evan Riddle, Justin Denis, Josh Wilfong, Jason Lash, Justin Cadeau, Eric Urin, Greg Follies, Brandon Black grabbing a hole shot. Going to be the 3-4-5. That is Michael Jarosco out of Fairmont, West by God, Virginia. Almost heaven. We'll be there soon, baby. Here we go. 10 seconds. Senior B, 40 plus. Larry Hopper, Brandon Hagan, Adam Nostick, David Trinkle, Dathan Lawyer, Fernando Pino, and Aaron McAfee. Around turn number 1 we go. Into the hole shot. 150, little dab. It's going to be the 410 on the helmet. That is Adam Nastick out of Garfield Heights, Ohio on the Action Extreme Sports backed KTM. Here we go. Junior B, 25 plus, 10 seconds. Adam Machinsky, Arden Shelley, Devin Hall, Douglas Randolph, Aaron Waldrop, and Billy Saliga. This is our last row, folks. Looks like everybody's off that starting line. If you're here on location, you are safe to move across there. Here we go. 4-1-3. That's going to be Devin Hall out of Huntington, West Virginia on that Maynard Racing Performance backed Gas with the hole shot and the early lead. It was your points leader, Johnny Gerard, out in front grabbing the hole shot. Can he hang on? Do it for 2 hours. Woo! All that and more coming up here in just a moment. We'll get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with more from the Amsoil Hoosier GNCC.
I'm Johnny Gerard, and you're watching GNCC Live on RacerTV.com.
You know, when I take the bike out like this, all my stresses just melt away.
I hear that.
This bad boy can fix anything.
Yep, tough day at work. Nice cruiser sorts you right out.
When I'm riding, I'm not even thinking about my painful cavity.
Oh, you shouldn't ignore that.
And every time I get stressed about having to pay my bills, I just hop on the bike, man.
Oh, come on, man. You got to pay your bills.
You don't have to worry about anything when you're protected by America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
Well, you definitely do. Those things aren't related. So.
Oh, that is a vibrating pain.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everyone out there on Racer TV, and welcome to Indiana. We are here in Crawfordsville for the 2024 AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC. This is round number 6 of the 2024 Progressive Grand National Cross Country Series presented by Specialized. My name is Jackson Burrow, and I'm alongside Zach Heron to bring you today's race. Stay tuned as we turn things over to Zach for the recap of the start.
Thanks, Jackson. Yeah, the sun is shining. A fantastic day of racing here for day number 2 of the AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC, and we're going to take a look at exactly how things started for your afternoon pro race with the Specialized start recap. Starting off with our main event, the XC1 Open Pro Class. And look at the drive from Johnny Gerard up the inside aboard that FMF Red Bull KTM machine. Fades out just a little bit. It looked like Craig DeLong was going to try to beat him to the line. But sure enough, Johnny Gerard, the 969, is able to get around the first turn first. But look at this. It doesn't take long for Evan Smith to make a quick move and move himself into the number 1 spot. We'll see whether or not Johnny's able to get back around him as they head off into the woods. Behind him, there's a Kawasaki rider there in third. DeLong inside the top 5 as well. We take a look now at the XC2 class. It was the Phoenix Racing Honda of Cody Barnes aboard the number 99, riding the back wheel all the way into turn number 1. He left the throttle open and is going to claim that whole shot here in your XC2 class. He's got the Landers KTM's boys just behind him, along with his teammate Rui Barbosa.
there in the XC2. Looks like Liam Draper fighting about that 5th or 6th place spot, so not quite the start your reigning champ was looking. Just outside the top 5 as they head into the woods. Now the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class, dirt like Jesus. My man Dustin Simpson's left the throttle on, took a little glance over, and he's going to grab the whole shot there in your XC3 class. Great to see him back out up front, but it looks like it didn't last long. Sawyer Karatura says, hey man, you can have the whole shot. I'm going to try to take the rest of the race, and he's going to lead them off into the woods for your XC3 class. So that was your Progressive Start recap. We now take a look at the Yamaha Racing track map. Jackson, we said it yesterday, our previous round in old school GNCC, tight, a little bit slower speed than some of the other tracks. Not the case that we have out here at the Hoosier. No rain, not quite as much mud as we had seen yesterday, some open field sections. All in all, a lot of variety. Going to make for a lot of great racing here today.
It sure is. Our typical GNCC track, what we would call our typical GNCC track, is what we have here today at the Hoosier. As you can see, some open field sections. This is a fast track here today. These riders going to catch some speed, no doubt about it, as they make their way around the Hoosier.
Absolutely. A lot of different conditions. Some moisture being left over. We did get some heavy rains Friday night and early on Saturday. Even was told a little bit of sprinkling last night as well, but we will have some dry soil popping up. Believe it or not, some dust probably going to fly as well. Hard packed slick spots from where the ATVs had compacted this Indiana soil. And then, of course, the roots, the ruts, all of the other obstacles synonymous with GNCC racing.
Yeah, the track really starting to shape up throughout the day. Our WXC just was on the track. As we take a look at the Yamaha Racing race format, this is going to be a 10.7 mile track with a 3-hour race on our hands. And XC1 Open Pro is a 122cc to open class, so you can run anything from a 125 on up. XC2 250 Pro is a 122 through 250cc class, with the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am being a 122 through 125cc only class.
Now, I'm not picking favorites here, but as far as sounding and smelling, XC3 definitely my personal favorite. Now, let's take a look at your Rocky Mountain ATV MC point standings so far. We're here at round number 6. Kind of crazy to think about that we're basically at the halfway point in the season, and it has been the Johnny Gerard show as far as the points go. He's got 131 at the top of the board. Behind him, getting his first win, Stuart Baylor aboard that Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki sits in the second place spot, just a couple of points back, keeping it within a race or so. Jordan Ashburn, a solid performance at his home race just a few weeks ago as well. He sits in third, with Grant Davis, our XC2 points leader, up inside the top 5 for the overall points. Grant Baylor behind him, and Gus Reardon in that 6th place spot. Josh Toth, that rider that was able to get the overall win out of the XC2 class, yeah, he's sitting in the 7th place overall spot, just in front of your reigning champ Craig DeLong, who's kind of having a rebuilding couple of races, right? He had some bad luck early in the season trying to shake off whatever he had, whatever mojo it was, and get back racing out here at the Hoosier and trying to get back up front. Dante Oliveira, the KTM fill-in rider there, having a great performance, grabbing a win. Not racing the full season. Don't believe he's out here with us this weekend, but in the 9th place spot on the overall points. And Mike Wachowski aboard that Phoenix Racing Honda, rounding out your top 10 overall. So Jackson, we've seen the points, we've seen the start. Now let's flash forward to our Yamaha Racing live drone and see the action out on track as it's happening. A great shot from Gabe Scholl, our drone operator, doing a great job. It's not his fault, all right? We didn't decide when the leaves needed to get on the trees, okay? We're trying to find them, and I tell you who we just found was the 969 of Johnny Gerard out front, leading the way. For those of you, maybe you didn't see our last race, Johnny under the weather, not sure whether it was food poisoning, what exactly happened, but when you ask him about it, he makes it pretty clear that he was in bad shape long before the start of the 3-hour race. These guys very conscious about hydration, eating at the proper time. When you've got an upset stomach, anybody that's ever had food poisoning before knows it is very difficult to keep anything down, foods or liquids. As you see your leader on screen through the FMF PowerPoint up that big hill, he's rehydrated, he's refueled, and he is back out front. Johnny Gerard feeling back at 100% and ready to rock this weekend at the Hoosier. Let's see who we've got in 2nd place. That might have been Snodgrass. Believe that is Jordan Ashburn in the 3rd place spot. Looks like Craig DeLong in 4th. Couldn't quite make out who that 5th place rider was. I believe that was Stu Baylor in about the 6th place spot. That looks to be Ryder Lafferty headed up the hill. And this is one of the open areas that we were talking about. Some of these field sections really giving us a great opportunity to see the gaps, see who's in what position, and for the riders, an opportunity to look over to the left, look over to the right, engage that next rider you need to catch up to.
And looking at that field section, you can see a big difference from today with the bikes to yesterday with the ATVs. These bikes really starting to tear this course up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday it kind of seemed like it was more pushing and compacting the soil down. We got that heavy rainstorm about an hour into the pro race, which I'm sure they were all thrilled about. It completely changed the style of the racing. They said it was already hard packed, then you throw water on top of it like a mayonnaise sandwich, as Mikey Waynes likes to say. Today, a different story. Thinner tires, the bike's able to separate into more lines, hopefully some more passing opportunities as well.
Yeah, like you were mentioning the rain there, that has been the theme this weekend. It'll come for a little while, and it'll stop raining, dry back out. Taking a look now to see if we can get our XC2 leader.
There it is, Grant Davis aboard that factory FMF Landers Racing KTM. Looks like he's got his teammate behind him as well. I think that's Gus Ritter, and I believe that was Liam Draper making some moves early into the third place spot. One of the Phoenix Hondas just behind him. Then I believe it was a Kawasaki. I think that was a KTM rounding out the top 5. Kind of lost sight of him at the top of the hill. So it is Lyndon Snodgrass. Let me rephrase that. It was Lyndon Snodgrass, that Kawasaki that we saw. I believe that was Jordan Ashburn taking the split line. And Jackson, that's exactly where we saw Bryson Neal make the pass on Walker Fowler yesterday.
Yep, Stu Baylor making his way around as well, trying to find a line through there.
Yeah, very interesting. A couple of different split lane options for your riders, and it's kind of a gamble. You start to see the first few riders go left. It's hard to decide you want to go right. Whatever it was, clearly it worked out there for Jordan Ashburn as he's able to pick up a spot around Lyndon Snodgrass on that Babbitt's Kawasaki. Jordan racing for that Coastal Gas team, really kind of coming to his own, getting comfortable on the bike. It was so cool to see the hometown fans. He had his family up on the podium with him at the last round, and really felt like that lit a fire under him. I think he got the belief back, the confidence is there. Be on the lookout for the number 3.
A great race for him there in Tennessee, like you were saying, in the battle the entire race. And it looked like Craig DeLong back in the 4th place position. That's one of the higher positions we saw him at the start of the race, so maybe today can be the day that Craig DeLong rebounds back.
Yeah, we talked about your reigning champ kind of having some rebuilding races, right? He had some bad luck, some crazy things going on, whether it was crashes, mechanical issues, what have it. Nonetheless, you got to shake it off. Much easier said than done up here in the Racer TV truck, but Craig doing what he can to try to put the past behind him, focus forward. This guy was the guy last year, the only rider to get 3 wins. Really started to make his championship fight due to his consistency, looking for that consistency and looking for the results he had in 2023 here this year, starting at the Hoosier.
Yeah, Zach, and looking back to 2023, that was his first win ever there in Georgia, so I'm sure Craig DeLong is still figuring this out. We'll be seeing him up towards the front of the pack for a long time to come.
Yeah, absolutely, and DeLong, not really the most outspoken guy, but you can almost tell when he's feeling good, right? He's got that slight little smile. He just kind of walks with a little extra swagger, and so wanting to see that back with the number 1. He earned that championship last year, put on one heck of a fight between himself, Stu Baylor. Ben Kelly was in there for a long time as well, and now he's got the number 1 plate. I see a lot of the fans, everybody, the peanut butter and jealous folks, they're all hating, oh, it's the pressure of running the number 1 plate. I don't think so. Anything can happen in GNCC racing, no matter who you are, no matter what number you are. It's all about just trying to put in the results and control what you can. So be on the lookout. Craig, like we said, sitting roughly in that 4th place spot, going to try to move forward over the next hour or so. 3 hours of racing on the clock and plenty of time for things to switch up here in the XC1.
Taking a look now at the Yamaha live drone. That is your leader, Johnny Gerard, making his way through the woods.
So watching, looks like I believe he pops out of the woods. Yeah, so we catch a glimpse of him there for just a second. And I tell you what I'm seeing, not only is Johnny Gerard out front, Johnny Gerard's alone. That is not good for the rest of the field. Beautiful shot here at mile number 8. Johnny making his way through, and like we said, the guy, he didn't get done wrong. It wasn't a lapper. It wasn't another rider that kind of ticked him off, if you will. It was the bad chicken. I don't know, whatever he ate. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove what he's capable of. So does this guy, Jordan Ashburn in 2nd. Lyndon Snodgrass 3rd. I believe that's Mike Wachowski in the 4th place spot. Then it's going to be Craig DeLong, followed by Trevor Bollinger. Trevor has been a name we've said a little bit more of here recently at the front of the field. And I might have had those Huskies backwards. I believe Bollinger might have been in front of DeLong. I can't quite tell. There goes Ryder Lafferty. I believe that's Evan Smith. And there is Stu Baylor. So Baylor a little further back. There's Josh Strang aboard the Sherco, trying to latch onto the back of the 514 machine as well. I believe that was Lane Michael that just went by on the Yamaha. Here comes the Grizzly Grant Baylor, trying to hold on to the backside of that XC1 freight train as well.
And Zach, as we take a look at Johnny Gerard, man, he really proved himself just how fast he was there in Tennessee. Like you've been saying, he was super, super sick and then to be able to get up on the podium, that shows just how good he is doing here in 2024.
Yeah, well, he said, I'm going to trade being sick. I want my riding to be sick, and he is looking sick right now. This is what you want to do. Get out front early. He had enough time to be able to take a glance over across the field, see who's coming out of the woods next. And we've heard it before. It blows our mind how intelligent these guys are, how aware they are of the full situation. So wouldn't be surprised if you could hit pause. He could probably tell you who's running second and third right now. But a lot of great stuff coming out of the Johnny Gerard pits, the Johnny Gerard crew, and Johnny himself. We were actually able to catch up with your points leader.
Yeah, the Hoosier, my first ever overall win. Good memories. I know it was pretty muddy there last time we raced it, and I guess you'd call it the spring. So yeah, I like those conditions. I like a little wetter than drier than any day, honestly. So yeah, I like that track. We got some good history, and I'm ready to go back.
So there you hear Johnny going to get a little bit of the best of both worlds. He's got some of the drier conditions. You can see just a little bit of dust kicking up behind him in some of these open sections. The sun's been shining all day long, so these spots in particular have dried up significantly. Hundreds of bikes have made laps around them by now. But you talk about off into the woods where the sun doesn't always make it to, it is still very mushy, almost a slimy type mud in some of these spots. So Johnny going to have plenty of opportunities to play in the mud, as well as some of the dry soil out here in these open sections. Dry, wet, whatever we throw at him, Johnny Gerard is ripping it up right now.
We got the best of both worlds out here at the Hoosier. As we see Johnny head back into the woods. Still here on our first lap of this 3-hour event. And man, he is rolling,
yeah,
Zach, looking solid.
The pace is there, and again, we've heard a lot of different strategy, whether or not he's going to sprint right off the bat, try to run away, and then manage the gap. Whether he's going to try to leave a little bit in the tank and save it for those championship hours, if you will. I don't know what he's doing right now. If this isn't a sprint, that's good news for him, because he's continuing to pull out, hit his marks, and look very comfortable up front at the top of the field.
Avoiding those deep ruts. I've been paying attention. He's been making sure to stay on some flatter ground, not trying to get in those very deep ruts. So an interesting strategy going here for Johnny Gerard.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite parts about the Yamaha Racing Live Drone, especially in the open field sections throughout the series, is we get the opportunity to see the different lines, not only in the apex and the meat of the corner, but the way the riders set it up and they exit the corner. Sometimes you see a rider going way out wide and then they cut in super deep across the inside, all in an attempt to try to avoid those braking bumps, avoid the deep ruts, just like you said, Jackson. Now getting a look at Johnny Gerard getting ready to come through the pits for the first time. Look at that, on the back wheel. I remember last time he pulled a wheelie going through the pits. He didn't stall it that time either, so that's a good sign. He must be feeling good. As look at that, the rest of the field. And not sure what that was. A little look back there from Jordan Ashburn back to Mike Wachowski and Lynn Snodgrass right there as well. And Johnny G was telling us the difference about going through water as a quad rider compared to a bike rider. They lift the front wheel up and we're absolutely flying through that puddle right there. So taking a look, it is Craig DeLong in front of Trevor Bollinger there for the Husky boys. Behind him, there is Evan Smith still holding strong. And it looks like that is Baylor behind him. Look at how much those riders are having to slow down on that real tight 180.
Exactly. Rockier section of the course.
Ryder Lafferty behind Baylor. Then it looks like it is now Josh Strang making the move around Lane Michael. So a lot, if not majority, of your XC1. There's Grant Baylor. So that is like 99% of your XC1 class all right there within sight of one another. And we know the Grizzly, I'm not even worrying about him, because this guy, he needs at least a good 30 minutes to get going, and then from there he starts chug-a-lugging towards the front. So don't get worried about Grant Baylor quite yet, but definitely don't need to worry about this guy unless you're the rest of the XC1 field. Johnny Gerard already checked in and through the finish line. He's probably halfway through that next field section, and we're just now seeing Jordan Ashburn pop out and just now crossing the finish line in front of Mike Wachowski, Lyndon Snodgrass, Craig DeLong right on the rear wheel as well. And he's bringing his teammate Trevor Bollinger along with him.
So how about that? The gap going to be 21, you could say 22 seconds between Gerard and Ashburn as they went through the finish line scoring area. Mike Wachowski only 1.9 seconds back. And then to Lyndon Snodgrass, only 1.3 seconds.
So we just saw Evan Smith still in front of Stu Baylor, Ryder Lafferty kind of closing up a little bit behind them, and then it's the Strang and Michael duo just behind them. We'll wait and see whether or not we catch a glimpse of your XC2 leaders. Here comes the Grizzly. So all of your XC1s still up front right now doing their thing. And I mean, Johnny Gerard, wow, what can you even say at this point? Got the start and is doing the most with it right now as he has got the gap back to second place. Jordan Ashburn got his hands full with Mike Wachowski, and Mike has really got some momentum going in his direction, right? He's doing a lot of great stuff there with that Phoenix Racing Honda team, getting comfortable, moving up to the XC1 class, and he said he's been taking notes and just trying to learn as much as he can. As now we see it is Grant Davis leading the way, Liam Draper in second, Gus Reardon there in third. One of the Phoenix boys, I believe that is Rui Barbosa, followed by one of the Rocky Mountain Red Bear riders. I believe that was actually a beta just behind them. Going to wait for timing and scoring to update, and we'll try to get you exactly how things are looking in that XC2 class as we head back to the Yamaha Racing live drone. Going to try to pick up your leaders. Jackson, what are we seeing on timing and scoring?
So the 9:22 of Grant Davis in the first place position. 2 seconds behind him is Liam Draper. 1 second behind Liam Draper is going to be Angus Reardon, with Rui Barbosa 2 seconds behind Thad Duvall and Brody Johnson.
I was about to say, there's got to be a name that's just not jumping out at me. It's bad Thad Duvall aboard that Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki, right up there in the mix as well. So a lot of heavy hitters, not only in the XC1 class, but in the XC2 up front early.
So no more than 2 seconds separating our first through six, but back to the 7th place of Cody Barnes, 34 seconds in between them. Zach, I believe that's who we saw up towards the front of the pack starting out the race.
Yep, Cody Barnes grabbing the whole shot and was leading them the last time I saw them coming through the woods before I headed back to the Racer TV truck. So not sure what happened there. Losing a lot of spots and losing some time as well. So hopefully things are okay for the 99. He had such a great start. Front tire almost didn't touch the ground until midway through the first turn. And it's a shame he finds himself in the back of the pack right now as we hang out here at mile number 2. Cool little bridge crossing that the riders have to go over. And you can see just how chewed up it is as they get ready to head down that hill. They've got exposed roots and rock faces as well as we wait on our leaders to come through here at the Yamaha Racing mile number 2. And it's anybody's guess. Johnny Gerard right now so far out front. We talk about how nice it is to be able to choose your lines carefully, figure out exactly where you want to go. The first lap especially, not having to worry about any immediate pressure. Whatever pace he's running seems to be more than enough if you're the 969 machine. But we also have seen throughout the day today, as there is your leader, Johnny Gerard, on screen. It's not necessarily lap 1 that things get complicated, Jackson. It's lap 2, lap 3, where the lap riders start getting chaotic. They are everywhere. We've seen it all day today. And not something that we're unaccustomed to, but it seems like here today it has really played a part in the front of the field. There we see Jordan Ashburn coming across, Mike Wachowski. Lyndon Snodgrass having a solid ride. Saw Lyndon Snodgrass holding true to his roots. Found him a big old snake walking the track yesterday. Said, hey, I felt it was my duty to pick that thing up, make sure it safely got on the other side. It had been run over. He's a man of animals. Lyndon Snodgrass doing it for the snakes out there, running up front early.
As we see now on the Yamaha Racing live drone, Jordan Ashburn on screen as he makes his way through. And look at that, back in the 4th place position, Craig DeLong has been able to make up some ground.
Yeah, DeLong is on the charge for sure, and he's in a great spot. He knows that the riders up ahead of him have got what it takes to get all the way to the checkered flag, get inside those podium positions. And I feel like that's been the thing for DeLong, where it's like, obviously he's got the speed, obviously he's got the fitness, but he's got to be in the fight late in the race. That first hour, he's had these flashes, but he just ever so slightly loses touch with them, and we know how hard it is to make up time out here. It takes 15 minutes to make 10 seconds and about 7.5 to lose it, according to some of our pro riders. Crazy how quickly it disappears. So DeLong trying to sink the hooks in, hang on for the ride, and try to be in this thing in that 3rd hour.
And Zach, we said how fast today's track was going to be, and you are seeing it right now on the screen as these riders fly through the woods.
Yeah, and this is one of the tighter sections. I can't imagine the speeds that they're running out in the fields. So many different obstacles and variables. Some riders are saying, hey, I really try to make the most of those open field sections. Others say, hey, that's actually a really nice opportunity for me to relax, maybe loosen my grip a little bit, take some deep breaths. And so Everybody's got their favorite spot, their favorite time to maybe rest ever so slightly, if that's even possible in a GNCC race. And everybody got a little taste of everything out here at the Hoosier. That's why it's one of the favorites on the stop.
And Zach, getting to talk to some of the amateurs earlier, everybody, normally they're saying that obstacles, it's the same one that's given everybody difficulties. Here today, everybody has a different thing that is giving them a hard time, whether it's the creek crossings. We're hearing a lot about the sections before the finish line, so there's many things going to come into play today.
Yeah, absolutely. Haven't got a chance to see that on screen quite yet, but looks like there's some creek crossings, there's some bridge crossings as well. And so when we say there is almost everything, we're not exaggerating whatsoever. As we take a look on screen, there is your leader at the Monster Mile. It is the 969 of Johnny Gerard, and we're going to welcome his teammate, Ben Kelly, getting mighty comfortable up here in the booth, man. I know you're sick of seeing us. You want to be out there hearing us talk about you, but nonetheless, we're glad to have you back in the booth. What are you seeing out of your teammate out front?
For sure, glad to be back calling the race with you guys. It's been fun, and of course, hopefully be back out there soon, but I think we're set up for a good race today. Obviously, Johnny G is out front, exactly where he wants to be. Obviously has a point to prove after the last round, feeling good again, and this should be a good round for him and the KTM bike.
Absolutely. Now we see there was Jordan Ashburn in second. You talk about Johnny being under the weather. Not sure if you've ever had any personal experience like that, whether it's food poisoning or just being under the weather coming into a race like that, but that's got to be a mental battle, already knowing that it is going to be a tough race before you ever even line up.
Oh yeah, GNCC race in 3 hours, it's hard enough when you're feeling good, so coming in under the weather, of course, I've been there. I think everyone's been there. You race long enough, you're going to have that with all the traveling, all the racing, all the training, getting beat down. But when you tough it out for a podium, and consistency is the key when you're going for a championship. So he salvaged what he could, and here he is living to fight another day.
Yeah, absolutely. They say you win it on your bad days. If your bad day's a third, that is not too bad at all. How about this battle that we're seeing on screen? Jordan Ashburn having a solid performance at his home race the last round. Mike Wachowski, it's his first full season in the XC1 class aboard that Phoenix Racing Honda. He's got a lot of hole shots, got his first top 5 at the last race as well. Really seems like he's building some confidence.
Yeah, it's really good to see out of Mike. The last round, you know, he chased Craig the whole time and kind of roles are reversed as he's leading Craig around the track now. But yeah, I believe he's from Indiana, so maybe familiar with the soil. Grown up here, probably has a lot of friends and family out here cheering him on. So let's hope he can hang on and keep pushing these guys. And I know he wants a strong finish. I'm sure he's fighting for that podium and wants to do it for, you know, that Phoenix Honda team.
Absolutely, yeah. The local boy, home state Hoosier, if you will. I believe we were actually able to get a word from Mike about racing here in his home state.
Yeah, the Hoosier's my favorite. I had my best result there last year. Got first in XC2 and third overall, so that was really good for me and the team and everything. And yeah, I'm looking forward to going back and kind of making sure we can end up on the box again. That'd be awesome. From the home family, home team, you know. Yeah, I'm excited. For the full, 13-round series, I'd say the Hoosier or Ironman is my favorite round, just because I'm Indiana boy, and I'm from there, and have a lot of family and friends come out and support me, which makes a huge difference. So yeah, that's why it's my favorite.
We hear a lot of talk about, though, I've got family and friends. Is that added pressure? Is it added motivation? Sounds like it's really a driving force behind Mike Wachowski, and whatever it is, it seems to be working in his favor this weekend. Taking a look back on screen, the Yamaha Live drone catching, I believe that's your leader that we're watching on screen. Johnny, watching second. Okay, thank you. Race Control letting us know. So that is Jordan Ashburn that you're watching pick his way through the trees with Mike Wachowski right there behind him, and they're actually kind of shaking off the pressure that they had behind. I believe it was Snodgrass who was right there knocking on the door with Wachowski. Snodgrass, another rider, kind of rebuilding, starting to get some more solid results. Had an injury there for a while and then was coming back from that. So great to see some results out of the 178.
Yeah, especially after the last race, having a bike issue there on the first lap. I'm sure he's not happy. He's had some strong rides leading up to that, so he's out here for some revenge as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so crazy. We talk about the different storylines, whether it's this guy's home race, this guy had a bad race at the last one, a mechanical issue in the last one. Every rider is lined up with their own version of why they're the guy this weekend, and there's only one at the top step of the podium at the end of the day. So cool and so interesting. We follow a lot of these riders on social media. They've all got their own stories, and so crazy to see how many different ways can lead you right here to GNCC. On screen, it's Jordan Ashburn leading Mike Wachowski with Lyndon Snodgrass in chase. And I believe that's Craig DeLong just behind them, knocking on the door, trying to get up to those podium spots. We take a look now. Believe we're looking for maybe our XC2 riders. That's still Ashburn right there, and Wachowski, I mean, that's 1-2 bike lengths at most.
Wachowski definitely pushing the pace, but one thing I noticed just a second ago, Zach, you were talking about the lap riders earlier. They are already into the lap riders here on lap number 2.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, but it really, Jackson, I know we sit at the finish line for the early morning races and we get, immediate transponder information and we see the exact lap times. They had a solid lap 1. They'd usually drop some time on lap 2, but then lap 3, we would see 30 to 40 seconds slower. I don't think that has to do with just the track getting rough. There's lappers everywhere, bottlenecks developing, leaders having to change their lines. So be on the lookout. We're only 40 minutes into this 3-hour-long race. A whole lot more still to come.
This track, of course, too, will break down a lot. After that rain we had, it's softened up the dirt just enough. As you can see, once we come back to these field sections, you'll really be able to notice how choppy it's getting. So you got to be very, very creative out there to find the smooth lines, keep the tire on the ground, and keep moving forward.
Yeah, you talk about trying to find the smooth lines. I know you're one of the riders in particular, it sticks out to me, really like to set the corners up wide and kind of diamond back off underneath. I'm assuming braking bumps you're missing, a lot of those deep ruts as well, just trying to find smooth real estate?
Yeah, of course. That's why you're going to have to change your lines as the track develops and breaks down. You want the smooth part of the track so that your wheel's on the ground when you're braking for maximum strength, and then also when you're accelerating, you don't want it bouncing up in the air. You just want it driving the whole time, digging into the ground.
That's got to be pretty frustrating too when you guys really start to get into those lappers. You've got that line in your head that you're going to take, and then all of a sudden there's 3 guys stuck in it.
Yeah, of course, but sometimes it works in your favor. A lot of times we're not on the main line, so the lappers, the amateur guys, they'll stay on the main line, and we're just off to the side. We're going inside when they're going outside, and vice versa. So as long as you come up on them fast enough, and hopefully they're paying attention, you can get by and not cause them any trouble, as well as yourself.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a balancing act. I'm sure you're not trying to knock anybody over out there if you have to. Stu Baylor has made it known, though, he's not out there to make friends. He's a man on a mission. So if you hear him behind you, do yourself a favor and just move out of the way, because all of these guys, I mean, even in your XC1 class on the 4-wheeler side of things, those guys, the pace is so different. Sometimes the lap riders are like, I didn't even know he was there. All of a sudden, he's there, he's by me, and he's 20 seconds ahead of me.
Yeah, of course. Sometimes you're going to bang into a few guys, but that's just racing. For the most part, you want to be nice to them, and in hopes that they'll remember you and make it easier on you in the future.
I remember that guy from round 3. I'm going to do him a favor and get out of the way this time. No, it makes sense. Not trying to make any enemies out there for sure. And we see a lot of that even between fellow classmates and the camaraderie. You guys aren't going out of your way to try to saw off front ends or anything like that. Obviously, last mile, neck and neck, anything's on the table. You guys know it. You're all professionals. Rubbin's racing. But and here is on screen. This is one of the water crossings that we were talking about. First time we're getting to see it on screen for the bikes today. We saw yesterday, it sounded like the water rose several inches when we got that heavy rain out of nowhere. What was already a treacherous spot became even more difficult. Looks like the bike's able to maneuver it relatively easy on that lap, though.
In this part of the track here where you can see going under this road, man, where they have these rocks, the infrastructure for the road is super slippery, and you're right on the edge of the creek. That's always a section of the track that I'm always shaking my head out. I'm the type of guy that likes the rocks, but man, something about those are extra slippery.
Now, what's the secret on something like that? Obviously, you're a taller guy yourself. Keeping the feet on the pegs as long as possible. Do you toss those things out as boat oars just in case? What's the strategy to getting through something like that?
You want to keep your feet on the pegs, weight in the pegs, pressing your tires into the ground, and it just allows your suspension to work better. Whereas, I mean, the last resort is to sit down and put your feet out. But I guess you're taking a risk sometimes putting your feet on the pegs, but that's what you want to do. As far back as you look at guys in the past riding in the desert, forever, you got to keep your feet on the pegs, standing up. It's just added suspension with your knees, with your hips, everything. You want to work as one with your bike.
Absolutely. We take a look now at the FMF PowerPoint, and there is the FMF Red Bull KTM. Johnny Girard up the hill. I don't even think his front tire touched the hill face right there. Just styling and profiling at the front of the field. We flash back to see what should be the number 3 of Jordan Ashburn. And last we saw, he was bringing Mike Wachowski and Lyndon Snodgrass along with him. There is Ashburn, and you see the Hoosier fans, they're coming up underneath the fence so they can cheer on their man, Mike Wachowski, still back there behind him. And it was Craig DeLong who was knocking on the door. So it looks like maybe Snodgrass, there he is on screen, has lost that spot to Craig DeLong. Craig moving forward, knocking on the door of Wachowski. And sounds like we're getting some word. There goes Stu Baylor up on screen, still running forward, but he is missing a fork guard, we're being told, on that Kawasaki machine. Not sure whether it broke off, came loose, whatever happened. But Ben, you can probably speak to this on a course like this. Obviously a little bit of rocks, some treacherous spots there. Could that play into things as the race wears on?
Yeah, of course, especially if you pay attention closely with this dirt. Ruts up really deep in those corners. So, I mean, it could be something as simple as just grab the fork leg in the rut. Could have been a crash. Could have been a whole lot of things. But as we saw, he wasn't off the pace far. He was right there, still charging. And it's still early in the race. Nothing to be concerned about. As long as he can keep moving forward and get on that wheel of that pack. You know, Johnny's got a bit of a gap here, but the rest of the field is still relatively close. So as long as he catches back up to them, which I'm sure he will, he'll still be in the fight and nothing to be alarmed about.
Yeah, quite honestly, I'd be more concerned if Stu's bike and jersey and everything was in one piece. Very rarely do I see that guy and something's not ripped up. He's just getting the most out of both man and machine. Now you're getting a great look at that split line option. There's Jordan Ashburn. Craig DeLong took the long way around, and it didn't quite pay off for him on that one. Actually, Wachowski, I believe, stretched it out just a little bit on that split section.
It's good to see him trying different lines, though. You know, if you're following the whole time, you're never going to pass the guy. So if you have a little bit of a gap from the guy behind you, it's good to do some exploring, and maybe that line he took will be faster later in the race.
Absolutely. We take a look back at the PowerPoint. That was your XC2 class making their way through. Liam Draper has taken over the #1 position with the Landers Racing KTM boys just behind him. So a solid performance. Draper really been trying to get the momentum headed back towards him. He's had some issues off of the start. He's had some crashes. Now, great to see him back at the top of the field.
Barbosa making his way up the hill as well. Good to see him back GNCC racing with us after an injury.
Yeah, Rui doing essentially what Eli Tomac did, having an Achilles injury. Certainly not a pretty injury by any means, and just as ugly is the road to recovery after that. So like you said, great to have Rui back on that Phoenix Racing Honda and kind of racing himself back to 100%, back towards the top of the field where we saw him last year.
Agreed. It's good to see him out here just logging the laps. You see him on the bike, so you might think, oh, he's 100%, he's ready to go, but I'm sure that's not the case. We know he has more speed in him, and it's tough. It's tough to be out there when you're not feeling 100%, and you know, you kind of have to put your ego on check. You know you should be up front more, but your body's not quite there. But he's playing it smart, and this is looking like his best race so far this year, so he'll continue to build.
Now, taking a look here at this mile 7 split lane section, as we see, I believe that was Grant Baylor making his way through. Obviously, you guys do a lot of pedaling. You go off and look at the track. How are you judging, hey, I'm going to go left, I'm going to go right? Like on that first lap, I'm sure you guys have taken a look at both lines. Is it just kind of flip a coin and pick one?
You look at the distance, you look at the turns, you know, whether one has more or less, how chewed out it is, you know, rutty, root out. As we saw Craig take a different line, and it turned out to be about the same. So, you know, a lot of the times the lines end up being the same. So it just depends on how it breaks down and honestly what you're more comfortable with. At the end of the day, what works for one guy might not work for you. You got to hit whatever line you feel like you could hit the most consistent lap after lap and with the most confidence.
Yeah, clearly, like you said, not too much of an advantage one way or another. But also very good to see a rider, you know, switching things up, not following, not just funneling into the same rut. There we see your XC2 Holeshot Award winner, Cody Barnes. He's back up and rolling. Didn't look like...
It looked like, honestly, could have been Jason Tino in front of him, an A250 rider there, as I think he's leading the amateur overall.
Tino has been on the gas, been one of our top overall amateurs, multiple races now, and it would not surprise me to see him up in that XC2 class, getting in the mix of things. As we saw your leaders on screen, and hopefully going to see some good lapper etiquette here from this rider. Says, oh, wait a second, those guys are coming up fast. Let me slide over, cheer on my favorite rider, go Jordan. And there goes Mike and Craig DeLong right there in the mix as well. Not really too much has changed there. Snodgrass still hanging on to that group in front of him. And there is Baylor kind of all by himself.
Trevor Bollinger, Evan Smith coming through. Good to see Trevor starting to pick up the pace and get back to his old form.
Yeah, especially early in the race. He's gotten some good starts here recently, and especially in that first hour, really been able to get in the mix. And it's funny, it always seems like every time we see him on screen, he's there with the teammate, right? It's Craig and Trevor right there. So some comfortable riding, I guess you could say, between teammates. And look at this. Now, we talked about this a little bit earlier, Ben. Some of these riders say, you know, the open field sections, it's an opportunity for me to try to make up time. You pro guys, you know, you're skilled in the woods, out in the fields, pretty much whatever. Is this maybe a little bit of a more relaxing opportunity for you? Loosen the grip up a little bit, take some deep breaths, or the complete opposite?
Honestly, I feel like a field section is a spot where you can make up or lose a lot of time just with being aggressive. So, you know, you could see a lot. So maybe you could be a little more relaxed on the bike, but you still want to be giving it your most. Oh, as we see Craig along, maybe making a pass here. Good spot. You see Craig staying outside, away from all the bumps. He needs to just muscle his way by.
How about that? Wachowski taking the hard line around. He's going to make it work.
He said, sorry, man, I'm on a Moto Tees t-shirt this weekend. You are going to have to take that position from me. So a great look from the Yamaha Live Drone. Craig DeLong going to try to run the inside. He's being a little nice there. He definitely could have forced the issue, as they were side by side probably 4 to 5 times just in that field section.
He had the inside there, so sometimes you're going to have to charge in a little bit deeper, and you might not be able to hit the corner quite as well as you would like. But as long as you get the wheel on the guy on the outside, he should be smart enough to hit the brakes and kind of let you go for it. But hopefully he'll learn from that. You see him going inside when they're going outside, and he's trying to find the smooth lines while these guys are just hitting.
Wow, look at that. Snodgrass says, let me show you the smooth lines as I make the pass. So great ride from the 178. Listening to BK there, taking a little bit of opportunity to make up some ground and make a pass along with it.
That's where you see Linden was just a lot more aggressive. He was charging in hard, hitting, going straight through the bumps, hitting the deep rut, and just banking off of it.
So now Snodgrass going to try to remount a charge to get around the Phoenix Racing Honda. And Ashburn has actually stretched it out about a bike length or two in this open section as well. There you see checking up, really diamonding off the corner, trying to stay in the smooth stuff. Great shot here from the live drone. Snodgrass going to try to take the long way around them. Not going to quite be close enough as they head back into the woods.
They are nose to tail heading back into the woods. Snodgrass really on the move there through that open field section. We were seeing just how beat up those field sections were getting. A lot of braking bumps as well as a lot of long, deep ruts. Taking a look now at the Yamaha Live Drone as they head back towards the woods. A few more field sections.
Going to head up onto the Ironman Pro Motocross track, go up and over that little tunnel jump. Nobody doing the Danger Boy jump out here, in case you were worried. I know the folks in the Racer TV chat probably asking when Deegan's racing. Keep holding your breath, all right? It'll be real soon. Anyway, back on screen, GNCC Racing off and rolling. And man, talk about using every square inch of the track. It makes a lot of sense. You were just saying earlier, Ben, you kind of got the main line, and then you guys are off to the left, off to the right. You use absolutely every square inch of the track. And Johnny Gerard grabbing a little hydration and is back off and rolling.
Hard on the throttle, letting that bike dance.
Yeah, that is, I mean, that's solid right there. He is hitting his marks. He's not been under any immediate pressure so far. Was able to get that gap relatively quickly.
I'm sure he's looking at the pit boards, seeing if his lead is growing or shrinking, and still charging, probably trying to put a bigger back gap between these guys to where he can be comfortable and not have to hang it out. But he looks comfy, like we see. He's been wheeling up all the hills, just definitely feeling it.
Yeah, Wachowski there taking a little look back, seeing who is that I hear behind me. Is that DeLong? Nope, that's Lyndon Snodgrass aboard that Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki, trying to show what he was hoping to be able to do at the last round. Had some unfortunate luck. So, like we said, a little chip on the shoulder coming into the Hoosier. But, yeah, getting racer control telling us really not a lot of changing as far as the gaps go at the front of the field. And quite honestly, Gerard, at least for this point in the race, only 53 minutes so far. If he's got the gap that it looks like he does on screen, maybe we're just seeing a little bit of management for the next 30 to 45 minutes?
Yeah, it definitely could be. Every rider's different with what gap they're comfortable with, you know, whether it's 30 seconds or a minute. So, yeah, maybe Johnny's comfortable with where he's at now. He's got his lines figured out, and he could be trying to find a pace where he's just going to hold the gap, not lose any time, not gain any time, save some energy, and honestly just manage the race. When you're leading, you have that luxury, and he's done it before, so he knows what he's doing.
So we see Craig DeLong backing up just a little bit. Ben, just speculating, what do you think that might have been there? Do you think he could have got excited, gotten a little arm pump back there in the field section, or maybe just taking a breath?
Really not sure. You know, we just have to call it like we see it. We never really know what these guys are going through or how they're feeling. But
now I want you to remember that, okay? If we ever say anything wrong, we're just trying, all right? Okay, it's just looking at the live drone, man. We see what we see.
Yeah, of course. You find out the stories before or after. That's what's tough when, you know, us riders keep things close to the vest. We don't tell when we're injured or sick or this or that. You may be hard on this guy, but then you find out, oh, well, he's super sick, like Johnny last weekend, 2 weekends ago. But yeah, I don't know. You know, sometimes we see Craig looking behind, so that's not unusual. But he's still right there with these guys. But he did all that work to get up there to third, and now to lose it and drop back a little bit is disheartening. But let's hope he can learn from the pass Lyndon made on him, and maybe start, instead of finding those smooth lines, just start charging and hitting that main line, even though it's rough, even though it hurts the body, even though it doesn't feel good, it's tiring. If that's the fastest line, that's what you got to do.
Absolutely, yeah. You made a great observation there watching Lyndon Snodgrass. You said it was just honestly a little more aggression, right? We saw it looked like DeLong had the pass made, checked up just ever so slightly on that last second. It's got to be hard to kind of decide. We talk about not making enemies. Sometimes you got to force the issue, maybe. And Lyndon was, by all means, not rude when he made that pass.
No, not at all.
But at some point, you got to have a little bit of that aggression. That goes back to even 2023 last year, the battle between yourself, DeLong, and Stu Baylor. There was oftentimes like, hey, Stu Baylor's outspoken. He is more than prepared to get as aggressive as necessary. Is Craig DeLong going to be able to match that? And if Ben Kelly gets up in the mix, Big Bad Ben ain't scared to get into it, is he?
No, not at all. Obviously, respectfully, I don't want to take anyone down, and I'm definitely not a dirty racer. I don't think any of these guys are, but Craig had the opportunity a few times to show the wheel to Mike, and I think he missed it. He really should have just drove it in a little bit harder. And as you see, he was nice. Didn't get the pass done, and because of that, Lyndon saw the opportunity and made the pass. So instead of Craig making a pass, he ended up losing one. So essentially, he's back 2 positions from where he should have been.
And that's how quickly things can change right here. These guys only a matter of seconds apart, all on screen at the same time.
And as we saw in those open fields, that's going to be your biggest passing opportunity. Nowadays, the woods, like we said, we all look at the track. So for the most part in the woods, everyone knows the fast line, and it gets funneled down so tight in the corners nowadays that it's really difficult, barring a mistake, as they're getting hung up in this tight little muddy creek crossing. Barring a mistake, it's very difficult to pass in the woods.
Looks like DeLong trying an alternate route there.
Looked to be about the same.
Yeah,
a little safer, staying out of the deep ruts, but no time made or lost.
So one thing you can't say, whether the aggression was where it needed to be at that moment a few goes, that's not the first time we've seen Craig DeLong exploring some line options. So doesn't look like he's locked into the exact spot he's at. He's constantly searching, still scanning, looking for new lines. And how hard is that? Obviously, you guys, some of you, I feel like have pedaled the track multiple times before the race starts. Are you looking at lines you've only looked at, or is it each and every lap throughout the race constantly looking for something new that might pop up?
You should always be scanning, you know. You want to look down the course as far as you can. That's how you anticipate everything, and that's what slows it down. You know, a lot of these people ask, like, man, what does it feel like to go that fast? Honestly, it probably feels the same as you are. Everyone in their mind feels like they're going as fast as they can out there. It's just how fast you process everything. So, yeah, the lines you looked at, you're comfortable with, you're confident with, you know what they are. But you always want to have your eyes up, like I said, scanning for new lines that will appear. When the line you're comfortable with gets too rough, maybe find something a little smoother. And that just comes through, I guess, racing year after year. You know, that's why they say the old rider is the wise rider.
So I caught a glimpse there of Baylor still in that 6th place position. You were saying earlier the alarm bells don't go off this early in a race. For you, when does the alarm bells start going off?
Oof, tough luck there for the number 7 share code. Doesn't look like they're totally out of it yet. They are working on the machine, so doesn't look like it is totally done for the day.
Let's hope they get him back out there. But Jackson, yeah, like you were saying, I mean, for Stu, he just needs to keep charging forward. If you're not out front, you have no reason to be holding back. You just got to charge, charge, charge. You're just always trying to catch that guy in front of you. Like I said, if you're freaking out, if you're getting worried, it's only going to hinder you. So that's stuff you got to just put behind yourself when you make these mistakes, crashes, things go wrong. You just keep charging forward, keep moving forward. It's all about how you overcome the adversity.
And charging forward, that is the name of Stu Baylor's game.
Taking a look now here at mile number 3, the Monster Mile. Our spotter Hollywood, they're going to, I don't know, do a dance or something, let us know the leaders are coming. Doing a great job to keep us informed as to where the leaders are at, what the gaps are, making sure we're as informed as possible up here in the truck. Back to the Yamaha Racing live drone as we try to check back in with the top of the field. Johnny Gerard aboard that FMF Red Bull KTM, trying to make quick work of it. Got the whole shot and is trying to say that's all. As here we go, he is on screen here for the Monster Mile. And really, I mean, just flowing is the way it looks to me. Doesn't look to be riding over his head, hitting the lines that he wants to take, not under any immediate pressure. Really didn't even have any lap traffic right there. Good spot to be in for Johnny Gerard.
Yeah, of course. And Johnny's a really smooth rider. He's not afraid to hang it out, but he rides a gear high. He doesn't use the clutch all that much. You know, as you see him through these corners, you said he's flowing. He's just carrying that roll speed, and that saves energy, but at the same time, sometimes faster than charging in super hard.
So it sounds like he has lost a little bit of that lead, though. Just about 9 seconds being given up to second place. And you can tell it might be to second place, but he's bringing third and fourth along with him as well. So Jordan Ashburn, we talked about the tortoise in the hare. It's not always the flashy speed, but the guy that just keeps going. And Jordan Ashburn, very, very similar to what we've been told for his championship year. Hey, we haven't talked about him a ton, but sure enough, he's there again, trying to do it once again here at round 6 and really start to build his championship momentum towards the tail end of the year. And cutting that lead down by 9 seconds, we'll get a great look at, that's how close they are. And
yeah,
we have seen,
tell.
Yeah, that is not as far as it was just felt like a few minutes ago. So really looks like Ashburn, Wachowski, Snodgrass, and DeLong still in the mix. The freight train trying to chase down Johnny Gerard right now.
Of course, the chase pack, those 4 riders are pushing each other, and maybe that's why they're catching Johnny. We saw at the last race, Jordan never gave up. He ended up coming in second right on Stu's wheel, and that's a good mentality to have. You know, he's going to be out there giving it his all the whole time until there's just nothing left in the tank. So as long as these guys can stay on Jordan, keep pushing him along, maybe we'll see them reeling Johnny G, and we'll have a battle for the lead on their hands.
Yeah, absolutely. That whole freight train catches up. We're going to have 5 riders slicing and dicing, trying to get their part of the podium. Taking a look now, just when you start to think one rider's really making up time, it stretches right back out. Kind of in, I don't want to say it's the lull section of the GNCC race, but right now I'm assuming none of these riders really putting on an all-out sprint, right? They're in a decent spot. They've got the riders just in front of them. Probably going to just keep this pace up as long as they feel like it's a solid pace for the next little bit.
You know, nowadays, you don't really have the luxury to hold back. I feel like everyone out there goes as fast as they can for the whole 3 hours. But it's impossible to sprint for 3 whole hours. You know, maybe they're going 90%. But yeah, I really don't think anyone's holding back. Like I said, these guys don't have Johnny in sight yet, so they can't. They can't let Johnny get comfortable. They can't let him pull the gap out. As we heard, they're reeling him in, which is just what they need to be doing. They need to catch him.
So taking a look right now on this Yamaha Racing live drone. And man, things are shaping up fantastic here for round number 6, the AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC. We'll give you a look at it. So there is Jordan Ashburn just in front. That's Mike Wachowski and Craig DeLong going wheel to wheel, toe to toe for the final podium spot. They're chasing down Johnny Gerard aboard that factory FMF Red Bull KTM, leading the way. Jordan Ashburn, though, sneaky quiet, having a good season so far. The hometown boy from the last race trying to put it up on the box once again. That Coastal Racing gas, putting him in a good spot. He's got a good group of riders behind him. We're going to get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back to the Hoosier GNCC.
Jordan Ashburn, and you're watching GNCC Live at racertv.com.
Unleash aggression, reliability, and premium quality with Kenda tires. Delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles. Automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda tires to guide you on your next adventure. Kenda, designed for your journey.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to round number 6 of the 2024 Progressive Grand National Cross Country Series. We're out here in beautiful Crawfordsville, Indiana, the first of 2 stops up here to Ironman Raceway, the Hoosier GNCC. And we're hanging out here in the Racer TV truck. It is Zach Herron, Ben Kelly, and Jackson Burrell alongside us. We're having a great time, a great weekend of racing. And, man, we thought we were going to have another mutter, I should say, on our hands. We got some dust flying, some great racing as Johnny Gerard's out front, Jordan Ashburn's in second, and the local boy, Mike Wachowski, aboard that Phoenix Racing Honda, holding down the 3rd place spot. And we were actually able to catch up with the local boy, Mike Wachowski.
Hey, Mike Wachowski here. We're here at the Phoenix Racing Honda rig. Come check it out. Yeah, so this is my Sierra 450R. This is Chase Miller, my mechanic. He's doing some fine tuning for the race Sunday. It makes my life a lot easier. Obviously, I can just show up, race. Chase has got the bike, dialed to perfection, and I can just focus on my job, which is racing, doing the best I can. So, yeah, it's quite nice.
Oh, Mike Wachowski with a good drive, grabbing that whole shot award.
The team works hard, and we have, the best results we can each weekend, and we're all very thankful that we have, good group of guys in our corner to help, make this operation happen. Hey, let's go check out inside. Yeah, so up here, the mechanics can, hit the snack drawer. Not very healthy for us riders, but they got all they need. So obviously, all these drawers, we got a bunch of different parts for what the mechanics need for race day to build the bikes. But also, if you're a Honda rider, you can come to our rig, and we offer, a bunch of different parts for a lot of different Hondas. On your right, we have all the radios for the mechanics. Bunch of different lubricants in here, our sponsors. So obviously back here we have our warm-up bike. Before the race, we'll warm up for just a little bit. It's kind of a nice little tool, just kind of hidden back here. Let's go on upstairs and check it out. Yeah, so this is the lounge for the staff or the riders. So it's kind of a nice little hangout area. So upstairs, me and my teammates get dressed. We stash our gear up there. This is where I get dressed. Got my, obviously, gear bag, gear, helmet, boots. In the back there, they keep the fuel, obviously VP fuel. And then in this cart, we have a bunch of spare wheels, brake systems, and then more tires and spare wheels. And this is actually where when the truck travels a semi in between races, they stash the bikes up here. Hey guys, thanks for joining in on the tour of the Phoenix Racing Honda rig.
So a great look there from Mike Wachowski showing us that Phoenix Racing Honda rig, and a huge shout out to David Eller and the entire Phoenix crew for letting us come check out what they've got going on. And yeah, I actually was not aware that they had parts offered to other Honda riders. So if you guys are needing something and you're in a bind, stop by and go see the folks over at Phoenix Honda, and they can get your red machine rocking. And talking about rocking, it looks like Craig DeLong has rocked back around Lyndon Snodgrass. So he said, you know what, I feel like BK is telling me to be a little more aggressive. I'm making the pass happen, and he gets the job done. There is Jordan Ashburn still in that second place spot. Wachowski right there, though, still running strong. This is a solid ride for Mike, and just like you said, Ben, it was last round. He's chasing Craig DeLong around. Now a full flip-flop.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure Craig's hard enough on himself after letting Lyndon get by. He learned from that mistake, and he'll try to not make it again. And now he's remounting, going to probably try to make the pass stick on Mike this next time around.
I talked to Craig earlier. He was the one interview I got before my mic cut out, so sorry about that, by the way. But what does it do for you? You know, Craig, we talked about, hey, you know, you got things kind of turned around in the last round. What a fourth place finish, so just off the box. You return to a place that you've had success. He's won here. He's had success here in the XC2 class as well. What does that do for you mentally, Ben, when you things aren't going your way? You go back to a track where it's like, hey, I've had success here. I can replicate that today. You think that's kind of helping Craig?
For sure, it should be. Like I said, the last round, you need some small victories that you can build off of, and I think we're seeing him do that. He just needs to stay in it mentally for the full 3 hours, not lose focus, and just keep pushing forward. You got to prove yourself every race.
Little split line right there. I love it.
And once again, it's DeLong taking the route that everybody else wasn't. The last time it was flip-flop, he was taking that far away line. This time he was the only rider still taking the one close by, so he's more than comfortable going the opposite way that his competition is.
In that same breath, like with Craig, honestly, Craig and Mike Wachowski, two guys that really need a good ride, and Wachowski coming off, could be wrong, but I think a career best in the XC1, a fifth place for him, and almost the same thing. Returns, you know, originally from Indiana. Remember watching him in the youth ranks, you know, back in the day, so that's got to feel good for him to come out here and be putting this on display. I would imagine he's probably got some family here watching him as well. Man, that shot is beautiful up the FMF PowerPoint.
Riders, wheel to wheel, the two Landers KTM riders there. So close, couldn't tell who was leading.
Yeah, Gus and Grant going at it. Did we see Liam Draper in that shot? He was in front. There is Liam Draper. So Draper was out front leading the way. I believe the last time we checked in with XC2, I believe that's Duvall right there in the fourth place spot. So the Landers boys have stepped it up and found their way around the Ampro Yamaha of Liam Draper, with Thad Duvall not far behind in the fourth place spot. Looking at, I believe that was one of the Liquid Molly Beta guys. Couldn't quite see what the number
Could be
was.
Brody Johnson there. Looks like he's filling in for his brother, who's out with an injury right now.
Hey, that's simple. Call up the bro. Hey man, I'm gonna need you to do a favor.
Jersey already says Johnson. Your money.
Absolutely.
Not bad. He's I feel like he's putting in the best rides he has at GNCC in a long time.
So some great stuff going on throughout the field. Didn't quite get to see, last I had seen it was still Dustin Simpson in that XC3 class leading the way. Talking about guys that have had success out here, let's take a look at some of our previous winners. Johnny Gerard getting the job done last year. Kind of crazy to think all the way back then we were still in the midst of getting however many 7 different winners in the first 7 races. I don't know who that guy is in 2022 that won. Have you ever heard of him, Ben?
Back in the day before I was washed up.
Oh my goodness.
So Ben Kelly, somebody that's definitely worth listening to as far as success out here, how to get it done at the Hoosier, and then Stu Baylor getting the win in 2021. But and like you said, this track kind of got a lot of breakdown. It's got some moisture in it, Ben, so a lot of changes still to come throughout the next 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah, of course, but conditions seem pretty perfect. You know, I'm sure there are some dry spots in the fields, as we see. You know, some of those creek crossings are going to be deep. Dragging that water up the bank's going to have some ruts, but majority of the track, like we see here, looks perfect. Johnny G's flowing, jumping the holes, jumping from one side of the track to the other, going inside, missing the ruts, just yeah, feeling the flow.
Yep, on a Sunday cruise right now, and that's a good spot. It looks like he's having fun, and if you're having fun, things start going well. You're going fast. There is Jordan Ashburn also looking good, going fast, And choo-choo, here comes the whole freight train. He's got behind him Wachowski, DeLong, and Snodgrass right there. I like to see the fight out of Snodgrass, too. That's twice that he swapped positions with DeLong. He doesn't fade back at all. He's been able to lock right back into the rear wheel. Slowly but surely, he's starting to creep up and be the caboose on this freight train as well. And man, wouldn't that be great if we're almost 2 hours in and we've got 6 riders all basically wheel to wheel. Curious to see whether or not they're continuing to cut into that lead. We heard from Racer Control it was roughly 9 seconds that they had made up. Jordan Ashburn had gained on Johnny Gerard, so we had done some speculating. Maybe having that whole team push them on, that whole freight train of riders, might help pick up the pace. I believe that was Bollinger that just went by.
Trevor Bollinger coming through, Evan Smith to follow. Yeah, I'm sure the last thing Johnny G wants is for that chase pack of 4, almost 5 now with Stu to catch him, but us calling the race. We definitely would like to see it for some excitement.
See, now he's starting to get it, Mike.
Now it's like,
it all makes sense.
I get it. I watch Supercross all the same, you know, and when the guy's out front, you're like, it's cool and all, you can respect it, but when it's a battle down to the finish, it's always more entertaining.
We got a dose of it yesterday, and it does kind of revitalize it. And it's one of those things too, like when you're watching, oh, Ben Kelly won another one. Oh, great, Ben Kelly won another one. Same thing, Bryson Neal keeps winning. Caleb Russell back in the day. It's one of those things. It's like you kind of have to step back and appreciate what you're watching, because quite frankly, sometimes it does get a little boring watching a guy run away with it. But boy, yesterday we were treated with a wild finish with Walker getting that 75th. Maybe we got some of that today.
I'm telling you what, I got to see footage of the actual pass. It's probably a good thing we didn't have it on the camera that I saw, because I'd have blown everybody's eardrums out. I was freaking out.
It was wild.
Grown man moves, as you like to say.
Yeah, that was those were grown man moves. But
now, I think we should watch here. As you can see, a small little detail. Craig DeLong, he's back to that main line. I think he learned from his mistake, not getting the pass on Mike, and then getting passed by Linden. Seems like he's back here. Like I said, in that main line, banking off the corners. You can charge in a lot harder. They're hitting the bumps. Looks like everyone's bike is handling it well.
Yeah, this drone does it a little bit of justice, but you guys have been out there and seen and I think I heard Jackson Burrell talking about the braking bumps in this, those acceleration bumps out of the corners. It is gnarly out there with the kind of diverse weather that we've had. It's not, the rain hasn't stuck around long enough for it to really get washed out, and it's just, it's a little unique out there for these guys, but they are handling it right now, applying the pressure on Jordan Ashburn right now. Man, none of those guys getting a break.
Yeah, this is a spot I think Jordan's very familiar with. He doesn't seem to be, he doesn't seem to care whether there's a rider right on his wheel or not. He just sticks with his lines, and I've said it before, he's a very difficult guy to pass because he's fast, obviously, rarely makes the mistakes, hits the main line for the most part, so you really have to hang it out in order to pass him. But as now, it doesn't really seem like any of these guys are close enough or aggressive enough to where they're trying to make a pass at this time.
Yeah, Johnny Gallagher pointing out Jason Tino, rider out of that 250A class. I noticed that earlier when he checked in, at least sitting in 9th place overall on the OA. That's pretty sensational. Still early, got to keep it up for 3 hours, but nonetheless, great start for him.
Yeah, very impressive. And at the Sprint Enduro Series, he seems to be battling with Gus Reardon, who is leading XC2. One of the guys who has been battling for that championship. So we know he has the speed as we see Johnny G coming in for his pit.
Was that a full goo right there? Looked like he took a little bit of hydration.
He's out front. He's got the time.
Yeah, he's doing. And that's a good point. You know, while you're out front, take those extra few seconds. Get the hydration. Get whatever it is that you need.
Yeah, it makes a difference. And I mean, 3 hours. It's an endurance race, so you have to be taking in calories. These guys are taking in liquid calories through their Camelbacks, through their drink bottles, and even a little bit of goo here. Something slightly more solid is sometimes nice.
Boy, how big is this pit stop for Ashburn, Wachowski, Snodgrass, DeLong, and really throw in Stu Baylor here in just a moment. See who gets out of here first. And notice Craig kind of had to go out and around to get into that Rockstar Husky pit.
Looks like Craig got out in front of Ashburn.
Yep.
Oh, and Baylor did.
That might be Snodgrass.
Sure, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be Snodgrass, because Linden was right in the mix of that as well. So it looks like.
I want to see if Mike Wachowski got out in front of Jordan as well. It does look like it. Looks like we have Craig, Mike Wachowski, Jordan Ashburn with that red and orange helmet.
Yep.
And then I'd assume that's Linden Snodgrass behind him.
Meanwhile, there's Johnny Gerard checking in for a third lap completed, saying hello to Ricky Towery down there.
Man, that's actually impressive because I was worried. I saw Craig kind of go wide to get in there.
Yeah,
I saw him losing a lot of spots. I thought that might not work in his favor, but actually comes out on the big end and starts now to lead this freight train behind him.
See what that gap is. It was 29.2 seconds back to Ashburn after 2.
Here
after
comes DeLong.
22.2.
Two nice, easy passes for him.
And
he's going to have to give a big shout out to his pit crew.
That is Stu.
Linden Snodgrass.
That's Snodgrass right there.
Gerard, Baylor, DeLong, Wachowski, Ashburn, Snodgrass.
We must have missed
so
Baylor
did Stu
then.
not
He must
pit?
not have
There's
pitted,
no way.
Stu might not have pit, which honestly is not surprising. We know he likes to alternate his pits. And
oh, that could be. Well, that's possible if we missed it on lap 2. Maybe we can get a word in down there with his team, with that Red Bear Kawasaki team.
Either way, alternating his pits worked in his favor this time.
It certainly has.
He just went from, what, 5th to 2nd place? So now if he can put on a charge, say he didn't pit, he could put on a charge now, get say, 10 to 15 seconds ahead of this pack. That way he can pit and still be ahead of him.
Yeah, that was wild in that last camera check. I see he wasn't with them in the field, but then when they came, I wasn't saying that was him in the pits there, Ben. It was the corner coming into the pits. I saw him, and he was right on the back of the train, which Linden was a couple positions further ahead. We did see a bike in the Babbitt's Monster Energy Kawasaki pits. I wasn't sure if that was Baylor or Snodgrass, but I knew coming into that shot, he was right on the back of them and had come virtually out of nowhere. So he must have put in, I mean, not that he was that far back, but he put in a heck of a charge in that previous section to close that 5-7 second gap to get right on him coming into the pits. Obviously, probably with the intention of, hey, I'm going to blow right by all these guys while they're stopped taking some fuel.
Yeah, of course, that's a smart play. It's a good catch on your part, but I'm sure that was premeditated by Stu. That's something, I've done in the past. Say you're struggling to pass this guy, man, you just want to come into the pits right on his wheel and hope your pit crew nails it and you can get out in front of him.
I think the thing that really surprises me about that is, obviously it is a relatively difficult track to pass on with all the ruts and all, but you would think that if he had that speed in reserve, he would have been trying to pass these guys one at a time in burst, but maybe just because they were all together in a snarling pack, he just kind of sit back, waited, and played that card, and it very could well work out. But right now, he's played it to perfection. I mean, he went from, what, sixth to second. So he passed Ashburn, Snodgrass, DeLong, and Wachowski all in one move by not pitting. I mean, that's, if it pans out for him, it's genius.
Yeah, that's going to say, it seemed like it was planned and very methodically planned by Stu. So only time will tell. We'll find out in that post-race interview, perhaps.
Staggering your pits like that, we'll have to see, depending whether it's a 6 or 7 lap race, if he's going to have to pit twice. Oh,
you don't see that very often.
It's like the quick fill got stuck on Rui.
And now the machine has flamed out. Trying to get that thing fired back up.
Sometimes it'll vapor lock. You just get all that air pushed in there.
Having a hard time.
Looks like he was trying to release it. Hopefully he can get his bike going. There we go.
Costly time and positions there.
That's motorsport racing, though. Things happen. Malfunctions happen. Let's hope he just doesn't let it get to his head and he can just keep charging forward. Hopefully he didn't get any gas on his legs.
Ooh, if so, we might see him take a little stop in the creek and wash off.
We have seen that before. Matter of fact, here.
Actually, it was the Penton.
It was the Penton. That's right.
The John Penton. Might have been for the Burr Oaks, but it was at the John Penton facility where Stu Baylor stopped in a creek and
took a little bath.
Focused on somewhere from the waist to the knees, and then got back out there and gained some points.
Nobody's mad at him for it.
I think that's happened to a few guys, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, even just a little splash can be quite irritating, but when you have gallons, that's a lot. So there you see, there is Craig DeLong. Looks like behind him that still appears to be Ashburn and Thad Duvall in the pits is what we're told. Can't see the numbers yet, but
unfortunately, yes, he was running really good there in 4th and 5th place next to two.
I'll say it's sitting on the 989 stand.
We'll see. We can get a shot of the number plates.
And there is, I can see, you just see Thad there off to the left.
There you go.
Looks like they have a shock there laying on the side. I wonder if that's what they're changing or
that's a ball.
Taking a lot of parts off here.
Was running well up inside the top 5. All right, so Thad Duvall in the pits. leaving him out of the podium battle where he was, you can see, a little bit dejected there, but was putting in a good ride. Was up inside the top 5, battling for a podium position, looking like they may be, speculating, might be doing a rear shock swap, might have an issue there with that unit. See if they can't get him out, possibly to salvage some points, but definitely his run at the win in a podium position here today looking like it's done.
Bummer for Thad. Meanwhile, Gerard still out in front. Baylor making a bold move.
Yeah, I'm interested to finally see Stu get on camera so we can physically see him in second place versus just...
Yeah, confirm what those gaps are once we see him on camera. But for right now, we know he's there. He has checked in. His transponder red, sitting in that number 2 spot. And how far back was he there, Mike?
22.2 seconds when he checked in. Kind of interesting note, assuming he'll have to pit next lap, but nonetheless, the lap time by Gerard was 25 minutes, 22 seconds. Stu Baylor was 25 minutes flat. So to do the Rodney Tomlin thing, if we do the math, by the end of this lap, they should be wheel to wheel.
Yeah.
If they keep that pace.
And keeping in mind, obviously we know Johnny did pit. We believe Stu did not.
Right.
So that's probably give or take 9-10 seconds there. But still, I mean, to put a lap time in that's even 12 seconds faster, that is a significant amount. And it's one of those things where once you start making ground, and we see, it looks like Hollywood is motioning. Look like he said the number 2, maybe, where he's saying, is that the leader? Nope, that is still the leader. The 969, Johnny Gerard out front. We'll see what the gap is. Looked like it was 125.34 when he came around that left-hander. See if we can get that same shot of Stu Baylor.
Looks a little more aggressive this lap around.
Maybe getting the pit board that the big 514 machine has made it up to the number 2 spot. Now I forget what it was, 125. I forget what I said.
Craig DeLong now.
There we go. No Stu Baylor. Oh, there is Stu right behind him. So Craig has made the pass on Stu Baylor. Stu in the number 3 spot. Craig looking like he's charging. Stu definitely looks like he's charging. And then Mike Wachowski still hanging tough there. The 282 machine. Heard your announcement at the beginning of the race there from North Carolina. We know Mike Wachowski is an Indiana boy through and through. They've actually put a little gap on Jordan Ashburn now, so he's going to have to really pick it up if he doesn't want to lose that that draft there, those 3 riders in front of him, because they appear to be right now the 3 riders that are very much on the move.
Man, hats off to DeLong. Obviously battling right there goes Johnny Gerard, but DeLong obviously having a battle somewhere with Baylor and able to get around him.
Yeah, it's good to see some fight in him.
That's what I was saying. DeLong needs that. We saw it earlier as Ben was pointing out. I think he kind of had an opportunity there that he maybe missed. Maybe that was in the back of Craig's mind, saying, I'm not letting that happen again. I got to get back in this thing. Doing well right there.
Stu is right there on his wheel, so you know he's waiting for a little mistake out of Craig or just the opportunity for a different line to open up.
21 seconds is the gap when they came by that Monster Energy, the zero sugar Monster Energy can.
Oh, yes.
So if you need a little energy, but you're worried about your sugar, try out the Monster Energy Zero Sugar there. And we use it as a marker to get our splits.
It's also true. Double time.
Snodgrass.
And did we have Ashburn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he came through there. All right, so it looks like we're going to take a look back here. Johnny Gerard in the pits, getting some fuel. You can see a little, I don't know, snafu as he's leaving. Looks like he catches one of the mechanic's arms there as they're trying to put the cap back on, but no time lost. He is in a hurry, and here comes the gaggle of riders behind him. It was Jordan Ashburn, Mike Wachowski, and Craig DeLong. And then we see Lyndon Snodgrass, and there comes a charging Stu Baylor. You can see him coming up in the background there, and this is where it gets interesting.
So you could see, we'll have to see Stu Baylor's pit. We're not going to see if he stopped or not.
So we see Jordan Ashburn. We saw Craig DeLong at the top of the screen there, making the outside around the corner to go into his pit. Jordan Ashburn stopped. We see one of the Monster Energy Kawasaki's in the pits, which there you see looks like it is Lyndon Snodgrass. So that means Stu Baylor bypassing the pits. And we don't see a roost mark coming out of there either.
No fresh tracks going to that Rocky Mountain team.
How about that? Stu Baylor
strategy at play. He's playing chess, or the rest of them playing checkers. I'm not going to insult him like that. It's not true. Everybody's out there playing chess right now. But Johnny Gerard's your leader. Stu Baylor in the 2 spot. Craig's in second. Stu is in third. There's battles all over the place. Bukowski's in it. Ashburn's in it. Going to be a barn burner for these last hour and a half. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
I'm Stu Baylor, and you're watching GNCC Live on RacerTV.com.
It takes commitment, passion, and endurance to make something great. Made by champions, for champions.
On Track School is an online private school catering to some of the top athletes in the world. We offer a flexible schedule for students that are chasing their dreams and always on the go. We are an accredited K-12 school where students can graduate with a diploma. Scan the QR code or call us to book an appointment with one of our learning coaches to discuss your students' next steps.
30 minutes and 2 laps. Let's go racing. Full contact. Look at that, ladies. Down to the inside. Jet Lord still on top. Oh, the podium's here. I don't think any atmosphere can match it. Nothing quite like pro motocross.
We've been there since the very beginning.
20 laps, the main event, the mud, the blood, the beer.
Organizing the industry and building champions. "100 years of defending your rights to ride into the future."
And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. Round number 6, the AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC. And, boy, we have had a pretty sensational race here today. Johnny Gerard leading this one out in front. There have been battles all over the place. Right now, Craig DeLong trying to hold off the 514 Stu Baylor. Mike Wachowski's in the mix. Ashburn's in the mix. Everybody wants a piece of the pie today, boys. And, hey, we've got one of our own, Jackson Burrell, standing by down in the Monster Mile to give us a nice little race report.
Monster Mile area. We are taking a look here at this hill behind us. Man, it is super, super rough. These ruts are getting very deep, as you can see just behind me, almost knee deep. And then if you take a look behind us here at a completely different section, you can see just how rough and rutted up this track is getting. The camera does not do it much justice. And another thing that the camera doesn't do justice on is just how fast these riders are going out here. Back to you guys.
Hey, thanks, Jackson. Good look at the Monster Mile right there as we catch back up with our leaders from the Yamaha Racing Live drone. And Gerard still out in front. Baylor sitting, or excuse me, DeLong sitting in the number 2 spot.
Yeah, it looks like for now at least Stu Baylor's moved there, got him to second, and then Craig able to get back around him. So we've got that battle really raging, and then a lot of heat coming from behind them from both. Mike Witkowski looked like they had put, at least at our last camera shot, a little bit of a gap on Jordan Ashburn, and then Lyndon Snodgrass back there as well. There we see Johnny Gerard working his way by at the FMF PowerPoint, the mile marker number 6, the Twin Hills right there. A little slick going up those and a lot of exposed rock at the top today. Back to the Yamaha Racing Live drone. We'll try to see if we're catching up maybe with that battle for the second. Look at this, Stu Baylor back into the number 2 spot, and I think he has closed up that gap, and he's definitely opened it up a few bike lengths over Craig DeLong. But Craig DeLong and Mike Witkowski very much giving chase with everything they have right now. Probably likely knowing they need to stay close enough that when Stu pits, you know, they can get around him.
Either get around him or hopes that if Stu is catching Johnny, they can latch a wheel and stay in that battle for the lead.
Yeah, and that kind of seems where the gap has now opened up, is back to Ashburn. We saw that a little bit before we went to break. Looked like Jordan Ashburn struggling to keep the pace with the 3 riders in front of him. Stu Baylor had really injected a lot of speed into that group right there, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. They all seem to be the same speed until Stu stepped it up a notch, and then they're starting to just spread things out a bit.
Well, guys, I just got back from the Rocky Mountain Red Bear pits and talked with Jade Baylor. I said, that had to be planned, right? And they said, we gave him the option. If he needed to pit, we were going to make him. He didn't need to, so yes, he did not pit. As far as Thad Duval goes, it was a shock issue. They were actually doing a full shock replacement. One of the Rocky Mountain Red Bear teams grabbing that pipe, I know it was hot, pulled the whole thing off, so I believe they've already got him back off and rolling. So little update there from the Rocky Mountain Red Bear 10.
Thanks there, Zach. And that's, you know, the commitment of these team members is absolutely unmatched. You know, it's they'll grab a hot pipe if they need to, you know, grab a hot rotor bend. You know, you've been there. You know, these guys are as invested in this race as the racers that are out there doing battle themselves.
Oh, of course, everyone on the team, you know, they live through you. So when you do well, they feel like they accomplished something, and when things go wrong, you know, they have that heaviness on their heart. So they're there to support their guy and get him back on track. And like Zach said, they got him back out there. So we'll have to look to see how much time he lost.
Yeah, hopefully still able to gain some points. We'll rush ahead here to the 7-mile marker split line, and that looked like it was Ashburn going by there. So it looks like the leaders have already come by there. Looks like our top 4 have already gone by. We think there has been a shakeup. We know there has been a shakeup. Stu Baylor back now into the number 2 spot, which he earned originally by bypassing his pit and then actually making the move back around Craig DeLong after Craig had taken that position away from him. And looked like to me he had made up a little bit of ground on the 969 of Johnny Gerard.
Yeah, Adam Gordon, our producer, texted us. He said he counted 14 seconds between the 969 and the 514. So Baylor chipping away.
It was 21 down
yeah,
to
right
14.
22.
Well,
yeah,
it was 22 at the, and then
right.
it was 21
Monster
at the Monster Mile, and then all the way down to 14. So 7 seconds. That is a big change. You know, when you see a 1-2 second fluctuation one way or another, that could easily be a lapped rider. You know, those things kind of even themselves out over multiple miles. But when you see a 7-second gain, you know, that means that Stu Baylor's out there doing something.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, Adam Gordon, or you guys may have heard, I believe he said 7-lap race was the report we were getting. Yeah, 7-lap race here today. So 3 laps into it, and about just under 6 minutes, or right at 6 minutes before we should see a completed lap number 4 here.
There we go. So 7 laps. This is this one definitely is going to be a full 3 hours. We're very near it, and it's a very physical race course. I did my first dirt bike race. Was out there this morning, and I can tell you the ruts are very, very challenging. Only getting deeper. That rain that we had on Friday and even yesterday morning really softened this place up. You know, Jackson gave us that little track view down there. Obviously, we saw the track description, but even these camera shots just don't do justice to how deep and how long these ruts are.
Grulin track, following the leaders somewhere in those trees. There they are. We catch glimpses of them once in a while. Or the battles, I should say. And Baylor trying to wick it up. Now we know Baylor's going to have to pit that next time around. Is that Tino up the FMF PowerPoint?
That's cool that we could get him on camera.
Yeah.
Not hard to do because he's physically battling for the XC2 win, even though he's not in that, not physically, but on corrected time. He's kind of bouncing back and forth between Reardon and Grant Davis there, looking like right now he's right between them. Now we go ahead to mile marker number 8, and it is still the man out front, Johnny G, the 969 on that factory Red Bull FMF KTM, and making it look easy, but he's got this guy behind, and that doesn't look like 14 seconds to me. Stu Baylor on a charge, and he is about to make this one interesting. Oh, look at this, Craig DeLong coming with him.
There he is.
And Mike Wachowski is latched on, so we may have a 4-rider battle for the lead here very, very soon.
11 seconds is the report we got from producer Adam Gordon between Baylor and Girard. And you know what? throw DeLong and Wachowski into that mix too.
Here comes Jordan Ashburn there. That Coastal Racing Gas has lost the toe, but still sitting solidly in that number 5 spot. Just behind him, we should see the 178 of Lyndon Snodgrass on that Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki. Great ride for him today. Been solidly battling up inside and near the top 5. It looks like he's lost a little bit more time, but still kind of in the mix for this one. Could possibly squeak out a top 5 today. It's not in there yet, but our top 5 have checked in. There's one.
And like I said, only 11 seconds. Let's see if it's close enough for Stu to see Johnny now in these open field sections.
I just can't believe how rough these fields have gotten.
Gnarly.
I mean, they always get rough. I've raced this place every time that it's been raced since 1995, with the exception of last fall for Ironman. That you can see how close Stu Baylor is now. I have never seen these braking bumps get as big and these fields get as rutted as they are today. Stu is on an absolute charge.
Yeah, I thought he was a little dab right there, but no, just flowing. Nice recovery.
Definitely making the best of that situation, bypassing the pit, able to make up those positions, have some open racetrack in front of him, and he's using that opportunity to gain ground on our leader, Johnny Girard, and he looks really, really good right now. There you see Craig DeLong and Mike Wachowski just behind him. So they have latched on. They're not exactly on his rear wheel, but they're definitely getting into that pace that Stu Baylor is laying down. Saw Johnny Girard just across, going into a couple corners ahead, so pretty certain that they each see each other. You know, Johnny's probably got in the pit boards. Stu obviously knows who he's chasing, and at this point, by now, Johnny Girard likely knows who it is that's chasing him.
And Craig is still close enough, even Mike Wachowski with him, to where I think if Stu pulls in for that pit, they'll be able to get back by him, which will be frustrating for Stu. He'll have to remount a charge and put through all that work again to get by those two guys.
Yeah, and I was actually just going to mention that. I mean, Stu has put in, you know, basically 2 burner laps back to back. You know, how frustrating must that be? Obviously, we don't know yet. There's still a little bit of racetrack, and this was the section where he was very, very fast. Last lap made up a bunch of ground, but he's going to have to put, you know, at least 8 to 9 seconds on both Wachowski and DeLong to be able to retain that number 2 spot, knowing that Johnny's obviously not going to pit, and neither of those guys, unless they need goggles or something, are going to be pitting either. So, yeah, maybe a little bit. I mean, a grown man move that worked out and got him to that number 2 spot, but will he be able to hold on to it? It just may not have gotten enough of a gap.
We'll see. You know, it's a good plan. We're going to see if it works out, but even if it doesn't, it's not a big deal. He still needs to charge either way to catch Johnny, and they're doing it as Stu seems to be the fastest guy out there on the track. Craig and Mike are holding tough and picking up the pace, obviously, because they're not letting Stu get out of sight.
And it's almost one of those things, you know, obviously Craig and Mike are surely not going to let Stu by, but at the same time, I think they know that the pace is being pushed by him right now. So, you know, maybe with the, you know, getting a little aggressive, taking another line, maybe they're not going to quite fight him as hard if they feel like he's got the pace that can take them to the front.
So here we go. They're going to be coming into the pits right here. Girard should be rolling, as we see. We'll see Stu Baylor taking a pit, and we'll see DeLong, Wachowski, maybe Ashburn get around him and keep it moving.
It looked like Craig pulled over for a pit.
It did look like he came in. That was odd. Unless he might have just gone for a bottle.
Okay. Sounds like maybe just
Let's
a
see if
little
he was quick
rehydration.
enough. Stu in the pit now. There goes Craig.
She said Craig got around. Okay.
Yep, you can see Craig there. Stu basically right on his wheel. But he's passed Craig a few times now. Let's hope he has another line picked out to make a pass. Or if Craig has picked up the pace with the momentum Stu brought along coming through the pack, and maybe he will start reeling in Johnny Gerard.
Yeah, and we'll see what that gap is now. It was 22 seconds last lap. We did see it fluctuate quite a bit. It was down to 21, then 14. And then actually it looked like it was quite a bit less. I think we had it at 11 at one point, but coming into the pits it looked like it was maybe less than 10. So Johnny has checked in now with 4 laps complete. We will be waiting and watching. Should be the number 1 of Craig DeLong that we see next. Or no, Mike Wachowski. No. Yep, okay. No, that's not Wachowski.
No, that was Stu.
DeLong.
No.
Or I'm sorry, no, DeLong.
Okay.
Lap rider there.
Thought it was Wachowski for a minute. Which begs the question, where is Mike Wachowski? He was right with those guys coming into the pits, and looks like this is him here. So maybe he took another fuel stop.
Could be.
Or an extended pit stop of some kind, because we know Craig did stop and get some hydration, was still able to make the pass on Stu Baylor. Mike Wachowski was right on his rear wheel, and
it looked like Mike was dropped back slightly leading into the pit. So it could be something as simple as that, like you said, splash for gas or just stop for a water bottle.
Still right there, though. Can see those guys ahead of him. Might have enough to put in a push to get back up in that podium battle, which could develop into a battle for the lead here as this one continues to shake itself out.
Getting into a little bit of the lappers now, but right now Gerard, DeLong, Baylor, Wachowski, Ashburn. That's your top 5. All have checked in with 4 laps completed. Snodgrass, has he checked in? No, not yet. Still waiting. Big battle that we're keeping an eye on is that battle for second between DeLong and Baylor. And as you heard Ben pointing out, Baylor able to get around him a couple of times right here. It's going to be a good test for the confidence and the ride of that DeLong is having right now, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is the most confident we've seen him ride all year, though. He's battling up front. He's making passes. He's getting fat pass. He's not letting it phase him. And here he is battling with Stu, who is a winner this year and someone's going for that championship.
And like you said, I mean, it's a confidence thing, I think, with anybody, but especially with Craig. I mean, it was, we used the term, I believe it was last show when we were talking about Hunter Hart, like dumpster fire. It's just one of those things that one little thing adds fuel to it. And in Craig's case, there actually was a fire at one point. I mean, wild things happening to Craig early in this season. Kind of getting the train back on the tracks, really, just 2 weeks ago in Tennessee with a solid 4th place finish, battling near a podium position for much of the race. And you could see he just kind of had that sense of, okay, I can still do this after that race. He wasn't jumping up and down. He wasn't pumped on, oh man, I got a 4th, but it was one of those things like, okay, I got a 4th. I know the podium's right there in front of me. I can do this. I earned this number 1 plate for a reason. And that little bit of extra confidence, I think, really showing through in his riding today.
Yeah, that was one of the things he talked about in the Monster Energy pre-race report too, Johnny, that nobody heard because my mic wasn't working out there. But nonetheless, to your point, yeah, it wasn't like I wasn't celebrating that, but I felt good. It was a move in the right direction. And then, we were talking to Ben earlier about it. When you return to a track that you've had success, and Craig has had success here, that's that much more confidence he's got into today. And I think it's definitely showing on the track right now as he's answering as he's under fire by Stu Baylor.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't say this is the type of track that really favors Craig and his riding style. So the fact that he's, up there battling like he is, I think it really does speak volumes about how well he's riding and how confidently he's riding today. And now he's opened up a pretty good little gap on Stu Baylor there. Something happened in that section.
Yeah, they
was
took,
a bike length or two.
Looked like Stu just took it a little bit of a different line, more to the right, kind of more up the middle, and that rut was a little bit deeper. Was a little slow. Doggy paddling his way through there.
So we see Johnny Gerard on screen, the 969, just kind of business as usual, looking under control, definitely pushing, but not looking like he's panicking by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and with 7 laps, like you said, it's going to be a full race here. This track is rough, super physical.
So that gap definitely opened up a big bit between Craig DeLong and Stu Baylor. What was a bike length or two is now probably 4 or 5 seconds at least. Stu going to have to go back to work to close the gap up to the rear wheel of DeLong. A lot of these lines that split kind of once you're in them, Ben, it's just like you're committed. You know, whether it's a good line or a bad line, you got to just ride it out. And there's actually, you know, we show that split line on camera there. It's crazy how much that outside is chewed up compared to the inside. Really today it looks like everybody favoring that outside line. And the inside, there's barely any tracks even through it. It's just wild how different those two lines have shaped up.
Yeah, and you know more than us. You were out there racing in this morning race, so you could really tell us how this track is breaking down.
It's rough. It's rough. The ruts are deep. Like I said, I mean, that rain that we got on Friday and even yesterday morning, I think what was a pretty dry, you know, Ironman facility, it just, that rain soaked in. It was spread out over enough time that when it rained, it gave it an opportunity to soak into the ground, and then the next rain came. It wasn't raining heavy enough that it was like running off. It was actually soaking in, and we know the dirt here is just phenomenal. So when it soaks in that moisture, it just holds it, and yeah, it's just crazy. Like I said, the braking bumps, the ruts, it was like nothing I had ever experienced, and it was interesting. It was a lot of fun, but I will say that 2 hours was absolutely enough. So 3 hours, you know, the last hour, we're now approaching that 2 hour mark. I mean, these guys obviously much better at riding dirt bikes than I am, but at the same time, I can tell you as a complete novice on a dirt bike, physically, I was a little tired, but mentally exhausted. Like just figuring out which rut to pick and you know, that focus to keep yourself upright. You know, the one thing I will say, the faster you go, the easier it is, but at some point you just lose that focus, and next thing you know, you're laying on the ground and your bike's on top of you.
Of course, but you finish the race and you feel a sense of accomplishment. You know, that's good to be out at GNCC. We got these long races. People travel from all over, so you want to get your money's worth. You come off the track and you're like, man, I do not want to do another lap. But I think everyone out there has short memories, so a few days later, once your body starts to recover and heal up, you're like, man, I can't wait to go racing again.
2 weeks later, you're in the, less than 2 weeks later, you're in the truck and you're headed to the next one, make that long drive and enjoying every minute of it. Definitely a lot of fun and a lot of smiles coming off the finish line today. For as much rain as we got, the ruts are deep, but the traction, there's so much traction, and the track was just a ton of fun out there. So there we see Johnny Gerard up the hill, and there, I think that was Craig DeLong actually that just went by close to the camera there, and we're being told he has got it down less than 10 seconds is what our spotters are telling us. Now we see Stu Baylor in the number 3 spot, some lappers in between, costing him some valuable seconds there.
Still charging, looked like he was getting kicked around a bit coming into some of the corners.
So DeLong benefiting, getting around the lap traffic early, putting some lappers between him and Stu, and suddenly, now we're going to talk DeLong maybe fighting for a win here. This is big.
We're going to get to see these guys here again in just a second. And when Johnny Gerard looks back, if he sees that big number 1, you know, there might be some questions in his head. Maybe not overthinking it, obviously. He's just focused on staying out front. But a moment ago, it was the 514 Kawasaki of Baylor. Now it's the number 1 Husky of Craig DeLong. And yes, that does appear to be.
He looks good, too. He's not laboring, charging, hitting the inside lines.
It was the chicken and rice I saw him eat. He pre-gamed right.
Stu Baylor definitely charging. He wants to get back up in that battle for the lead. He was there a moment ago, a fuel stop, and then what maybe a poor line choice, it looked like, cost him that distance between him and DeLong. Now he's got to go back to work and close that gap back up.
As we wait to see if Mike Wachowski, looks like Jordan Ashburn has made his way into 4th. Mike Wachowski on his wheel in 5th.
And still, I mean, even if, you know, not to say that Mike's going to give up that position, but if he can stay there in the top 5, you know, back-to-back top 5 rides, that is a huge step in the right direction for Mike Wachowski. And, you know, especially riding much of this race, nearly 2 hours of this race up in a podium position. You know, those are, you learn so much, obviously, when you get yourself in those positions, and, you know, you kind of take that back with you, that knowledge, and think, okay, the next time I'm there, maybe I'll do things a little different, or I won't do this or that. But definitely a learning experience for him in XC1. Seems to be learning very quickly.
Yeah, of course, he'll learn from the veterans out there, as he's right on the wheel. Jordan Ashburn, been doing it a long time, and like I said, he had a solid race last round. But yeah, he's a rookie, first year on that 450. It's going to take a while to get that bike fitness, so he has the speed, as we've seen early in the races. So just being able to hang on to that bike and build his fitness race after race, we'll see him stay at the front longer and longer each round until, yeah, I'm sure with hopes, he'll be able to hang on, battling for podiums and wins all the way down to the checkered.
Looks like we have found our leaders. Not sure exactly who we're looking at. Is that Johnny Gerard out front? Okay, so it looks to be Johnny Gerard, Craig DeLong just behind him. Ben, to that point, how much, this obviously being Mike's first year in XC1, it's not just a class change, as you pointed out, going from a 250cc to 450cc machine. How much is physicality? Does that change things? How much mindset does that change things? Obviously, when you did that, it was from a 250 to a 350, but does it really change your riding style that much, or is it just kind of needing to bulk up to really hang on to that thing?
It changed your riding style, but actually, I went from a 250 to a 450. 2020 was my first year racing XC1, and I actually raced a 450. I was racing a 450 at 6 days. So even my last year in XC2, 2019, probably come summer, all I practiced on was a 450 that year. So I was building that fitness for a long time, as we see Craig DeLong inching closer and closer. Yeah, it takes a long time, that's the thing nowadays, that delayed gratification. Everyone wants it to be instant, but it's not the case. You got to do something with discipline for 3 to 6 months, even a whole year, to maybe even find a gain. It's always that thing where someone will all of a sudden start having really good results and they'll be like, oh man, what did you finally change? Nothing. I stuck to the same plan for 2 years and I'm finally seeing those results pay off. So it's one of those things.
And how much do you think rider size may or may not factor into that? Like, you look at a guy we're looking at on screen, Craig DeLong, he was making a joke actually this week saying, hey, I'm the smallest guy in the class by far. Obviously he's on a 350cc machine, but still, stepping up from the 250, there was a lot of chatter back when he, made that move that, hey, this is a guy that may not ever be able to ride the bigger bore machine. He's just too small of a guy. Obviously he rides it pretty well. He won a championship last year, but do you feel like, you being obviously a larger rider in stature, you had a little bit of an advantage in that transition, or do you think it kind of comes more down to technique and mindset?
I wouldn't give my height away, that's for sure.
Yeah, there it is.
I like having it, but I think there's pros and cons to both, and it just comes down to fitness, for sure, technique, riding style. Honestly, if you watch Craig and Mike Wachowski, they look very similar. They have similar builds, so they ride the bike very similar. Whereas a taller person is kind of all over the bike, more forward, more back. And these guys that are a little smaller, even, we saw Caleb Russell wasn't the biggest guy, but he's the GOAT at GNCC. They can hold a more neutral position on the bike, where sometimes, yeah, maybe that saves energy, but maybe they don't have the leverage to lean back, put quite as much weight on the rear or the front wheel. So like I said, pros and cons to both. You just... that's what's cool about dirt bikes, honestly. There's not one build that is ideal. So yeah, I think they just need to be happy with what they have and try to play into their strengths and make it work, because there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, we've talked before. Craig actually has a 21-inch inseam. His legs are only 21 inches long. No, he's obviously shorter in stature, but he makes it work for him. Riding style, it's not like he looks like he's struggling to reach the ground or anything like that. So from our Yamaha Racing Live drone, we do see that is Craig DeLong. Looking up further ahead of him, do we see Johnny Gerard? Looks like Johnny Gerard has already gotten into the woods and out of our camera shot.
Still just
there
out of sight.
There he is there, exiting the woods.
If Craig can slowly inch enough, I'm sure Craig can see him in certain field sections, and that's enough of a dangling carrot for him to know that the effort he's putting in is working as he's gaining time.
Got to be frustrating, though, if you're Johnny Gerard trying to run away, you see that gap closing down, or if you're Craig DeLong and you feel like you absolutely grease a section and then suddenly that gap gets bigger. You have to play those mind games with yourself to, like you said, dangling carrot, continue to go after it, reset when, there's a mistake, maybe a dab, maybe even a tip over. That mental strength goes a long way to getting you back on task.
Agreed, but Johnny is in the driver's seat. I'm sure he's aware of what's going on. He may be glancing back here and there. He's looking at his pit boards, He's been leading this race the whole time, so hey, maybe there are spots where he's saving energy, spots where he's feeling comfortable and is aggressive. They'll be done with 5 laps here in not too long, and we'll be down to the last hour. They'll have 2 to go, and that's really when it all starts, I guess you guys like to say. The last hour is the hardest to stay focused.
Craig DeLong can definitely see Johnny Gerard now there. He was coming into that creek section as Johnny was exiting. Is that Stu Baylor now back in the fray. It is.
Yep.
Stu is made up. Oh, no, is it?
Yeah, that's got to be Stu.
Was he taking a look down at his machine there, it looked like?
Couldn't tell if he's looking down or looking over.
Very slick section here.
Could have just been some mud, you know, caught into his shift lever there. They just went through a muddy section in deep water.
Any difference in approach, you think, for a guy like Johnny looking back, seeing it's his training buddy, Craig DeLong, versus when he looks back and sees Stu Baylor, or just business as usual and you're trying to maintain the gap?
It all depends.
We're not asking you to give away too much information because obviously you're going to come back, you're going to race, you're going to, you know, come back, battle for wins. But is there a difference, you know, in when you see certain riders behind you and they're gaining versus others? Do you maybe put a little more credence behind it if it's certain guys, or are you less worried, or you're not willing to share that?
No, I mean, yeah, it depends. You know, say someone's coming up on you that has beaten you in the past, or someone that beats you quite often. Man, you'll be a little more concerned as if it's someone that you usually have covered. But every race is different, and everyone has their day, you know.
So, Johnny, let me ask, are you, like, to piggyback off that, are you asking take points out of the equation? Because I would think, like, if the guy that's second in points behind you, definitely.
No, yeah, I mean,
or are you just saying?
Yeah, that would factor in, but I mean more like of the individual, not necessarily the points. You know, obviously, you know. Yeah, there we see Stu Baylor back to basically the rear wheel now of Craig DeLong, and they are still very much within sight of Johnny Gerard, especially when they enter into these field sections that we're about to see them go into. But no, what I was saying is specifically the individual, not the point situation.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Stu coming up close here on Craig.
This looks like he might try to make a move here, square him up. Nope, following into the same line on the outside.
The open fields are the good opportunity. So if Stu can get on a different line, get side by side, and maybe make a slingshot pass.
Stu going the long way around. Can he carry that speed? Maybe.
Craig needs to hang tough. As we come into the trees.
I think he got him.
He got really close.
I do think he got him. Come on, knock some leaves off these trees
right?
So we can see
foliage.
Sure.
It kind of does look like white plastics there in the second place position.
I think you're right.
Stu had a little more momentum around the outside going into the woods.
Well, no mistake who that is. Johnny Gerard out in front, still doing his thing. Johnny's had his own race today, man. He's been pretty well flawless out there.
Stu Baylor did get around.
Stu.
So he is now back up into the number 2 spot. Craig DeLong in the number 3 spot. Like you said, Ben carried that momentum around the outside, just forced his way through there. There's actually a little split going in there, so probably took that outside line, and maybe at that point Craig realizing he had let him get too close, and it would be easy to lock bars there, so one of the two you have to let off.
Agreed, and Stu said it in the past. He's not out there to make friends, so maybe that was in the back of Craig's mind, knowing Stu was behind him. The bike was probably revving, and maybe he played it smart. But there's still time. He could stay on the wheel of Stu and try to remount to get back into that second place position.
And a couple riders we need to give a shout out to quick there, looking at that overall. 7th place, Evan Smith. Good solid ride for him. 7th overall, and then look at that. Now up to 8th overall, Jason Tino. Back ahead of all of the XC2 riders, leading that 250A class, top amateur, and solidly inside the top 10 overall. It looks like Angus Reardon has taken the lead back from Grant Davis. That is the battle for the win in that XC2 class. Be interesting to see how close those guys are physically on the racetrack. I don't know exactly where Jason Tino started, but he's got to be getting pretty close physically to that XC2 battle for the lead on the racetrack.
Yeah, and to your point, Tino in that 250A class, the next closest rider in his class, Cooper Jones and JoJo Cunningham, both having a solid day in the top 20, but Cooper Jones in second, 2 minutes, 18 seconds back.
Wow. Yeah. JoJo Cunningham right behind him there, 18th overall, and then Rui Barbosa 19th. Nick DeFeo also up into the top 20 overall from that 250A class.
Yeah, impressive ride from Tino. Like I said earlier, at the Sprinters, he's been battling with Gus and a lot of them XC2 riders, so he has the speed, and I know he's a guy who comes from a wrestling background, so he's strong, he's fit, and more than anything, I think that taught him some discipline. So I'm sure he's bringing that into his training with this off-road dirt bike racing thing, training down at Ranch Russell as well. with guys like Johnny Gerard and Craig DeLong, who are out front 1 and 3 in this race.
Yeah, and Jason Tino, I had an opportunity to spend some time with him this year. Met him a few times previously, but got a little bit of his chip on his shoulder. He's and I mean that in a good way. Like he doesn't take being pushed around lightly. Somebody gives him a little ribbing, he comes right back. He's very feisty, and that's showing off itself today. He's been in a heated battle throughout the first part of the season with Nick DeFeo. Obviously, DeFeo back in that number 4 spot in that 258 class today, trying to work his way up to gain some valuable points. DeFeo, I believe, still is the points leader. I'd have to check that. But, Jason Tino, I think, has two, maybe 3 wins. There we see, so that we are told new leader in XC2 just going up the hill.
Davis?
Didn't see. So they have swapped positions again, possibly. See if we can get a shot. That looked to be Davis.
I think it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But the Landers KTM guys 1-2 out there.
So Jason Tino not exactly physically in that battle yet, but he is ahead of both of those guys. And there is Jason Tino, so he is close. Those guys are just ahead of him. He's got Grant Baylor behind him. This is a guy that has won overalls, and we got a 258 rider up in the mix. We've seen this historically over the years, typically not this early in the season, though. It's usually later in the year, kind of guys that, maybe lacking a little bit of experience as throughout the year, they get themselves up inside the top 20 and then, top 15, top 10. We'd have to check, but I think Jason Tino already has a top 10 overall this year, as does Nick DeFeo. Those guys are just absolutely shredding from that 258 class this year.
For sure, it could be these conditions playing in his favor. A track like this that breaks down a lot, gets soft, lots of ruts. These types of things are separators. It's the tracks that are drier, that don't have too much technical assets or technical portions of the track, where you see a lot of the guys, majority of the pack, stay wheel to wheel. Where a track like this, like I said, these technical spots can really separate the guys, and maybe Tino's using that to his advantage.
Yeah, just greasing it, finding his lines. Let's see here.
Looks like Stu Baylor and Craig DeLong.
Yep, Johnny must still be out front there. So Craig able to still kind of hang on to Stu after Stu made the pass. And Stu starting to stretch it out just a little bit. He is definitely laying down everything he has, trying to close that gap to the rider out front.
Missing the bumps, dropped into the rut last minute.
Don't see Johnny, must be in the woods already over there. Have to see if we can get a gap when we get them both in the same shot.
Here comes Johnny out of the woods, possibly.
Looks like
could be pulling a little more time. I'd be interested to see if like we said, he's been saving a little energy in the tank for that last lap.
Ooh, that was close.
Yeah.
Things like that happen constantly out there,
Oh, listen, bud, you need to go race a morning race. Chaos. Come around a corner, everybody's upright. 2 seconds later, you blink, and it looks like just an absolute yard sale.
It's good. The more people out there riding dirt bikes, the better.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody, even the guys that were laying on the ground looked like they were having a good time once they got up. There is Johnny Gerard out front. This is where the track joins back in just off the start. They're working their way towards what will be 5 laps complete and a 2-lap card in the hands of Ricky Towery. We're deep into this one, 2 hours, 7 minutes, and we will see the 2-lap card out, meaning 2 more circuits around this Hoosier at the Ironman facility. And, man, it's really looking like this could shape up to be a 3-way battle for the lead here in the final laps of racing.
We'll take it. We had some yesterday. Let's go for a 2 for this weekend.
If Johnny Gerard, if you can hear us out there right now, maybe just back it down a little bit. Don't let anybody by, but just let them get close enough to you that we can see a 2-lap shootout with 3 guys. Yeah, and this is actually this section is right where we saw the pass for the lead yesterday. Bryson Neal checking up just a little bit early, right where Johnny Gerard is now, taking the outside line, and Walker Fowler just taking an advantage of that inside line, kind of banking off of Bryson, getting the pass made for the win. Be cool to see that go with 3 riders coming down.
Yeah, let's do it
today.
Let's go 3 wide into that turn.
Ben's kind of looking at us like, guys, no,
please no.
Ben would like to see it now, but as a racer, you're thinking, no, you want to have
not.
Even if it's only 10 seconds, you want to have enough of a gap that that guy's safely back there. You can have a lapper in front of you. You don't have to panic. But Johnny has really just kind of managed this race masterfully so far through 2 hours and 8 minutes of racing. Really hasn't put a wheel wrong, at least that we've seen on screen. Every time somebody's put in a charge, he's had an answer for it. They've gotten close, but they've not yet been able to actually get to the rear wheel of Johnny Girard.
So 7-lap race. Would they coming in for a splash of fuel this next time around, you think, or are we sending it?
I would have to assume, since they all pitted on lap 3, that they would likely have to splash. We may even see some of them come in this lap. Looks like
we do think Stu, on a different bike, on a Kawasaki, he waited till after 4 to pit. So if he's going 4 laps, gas, 3 more, maybe the Austrian brands can go 3 laps, pit, and then go 4 to end it. They may not be willing to take the risk. You know, they always calculate the fuel. They know the consumption, you know, however much fuel they put in the tank at the pit. They'll measure that, and they'll know how much he burned from the start. Like I said, how much gas he took at the pit, and they'll know. They might do a quick pit, just a little splash and go. It's worth it. Last thing you want is to run out of gas. You'd rather stop there for 5 seconds, and if you lose the race because of a 5-second stop, you know, you got to say that's on you. You could find 5 seconds here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, especially the only thing I will say is being this close to the finish line, I don't think we'll see anybody splash on the last lap. You know, I would think if they go, if they go to the white flag, I don't think we'll see them splash coming to the finish line. You know, it's just such a short distance. Is that? It was. Stu Baylor with a little bobble there in that turn. Dropped the bike momentarily, not quite all the way over, but lost his balance, and that allows Craig DeLong right to the rear wheel again.
Still right at, just almost an identical gap between those guys after 5, 19.9 seconds, just under 20. Craig DeLong 2.5 seconds back on Stu, as you guys saw on camera.
That's, man, you know, at times Stu looks like he's absolutely shredding. Johnny just kind of looks smooth, and Stu and Craig seem like they're pushing a little bit harder at different points on the racetrack. They're able to close that gap up, but then it seems like at some point it just evens itself back out. Wild that we're talking about Johnny being the smooth one. You know, this is a guy that,
wild man.
365 days ago was, you know, absolutely just, it was explosion or it was implosion, one way or the other. It was a win or it was, not even in the top 10, it seemed like. So there's Jordan Ashburn and Mike Wachowski through, still pretty much glued to each other. What's the gap back there?
Between Wachowski or Ashburn checking in back to Wachowski, 1.8 seconds.
What gap back to Ashburn? I'm sorry, from
DeLong. 50.9.
Okay, so that has opened up a little bit more.
Gap. All right, we are 5 laps completed for your leaders in what will be a 7-lap race. Johnny Girard in control. DeLong, Baylor, back and forth, yet to be sorted out. Can they make a charge? Get up there in the fight with Girard. Ashburn battling Wachowski. Snodgrass been a sensational day of racing. Jason Tino been sensational as well. We'll have more right after this on RacerTV.com.
Community, family, teamwork. It's what we have stood on for over a decade. Hauling might be what we do at the surface, but it's much deeper than that. Because what you need matters. When you need a haul, give us a call at 724-852-4488. For 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, we at JD Enterprises are prepared to serve you.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com, overlooking Ironman Raceway, home of the Hoosier GNCC. We got ATV-MX next week. We've got Pro National, and then probably most importantly to our viewers right now, we got Ironman GNCC in the fall. Action-packed place. Well, it has been a sensational day. You can't talk about Indiana, and I say this, I know I'm a little biased, fellas, but you can't talk about Indiana without bringing up basketball. I know some of you out there, you're all motorheads. It's all dirt bikes or nothing. But, hey, we're in Indiana. It's the Hoosier GNCC, so we celebrated with a little 3-on-3 basketball tournament last night. Our man, Griff Cotter, with the call. How about that? AP getting some love right there. These jerseys that Austin Woodrum made these up in collaboration with Triple J from Scott. You can see he's won it an and one right there. And I don't know, the kids division, I don't know where those kids are from, but they got to take those #1 jerseys home, and then Indiana representing out there. Oh, look at that from deep. From deep. But it was my Indiana boys who, in the end, were able to bring the title back home, is what Griff told me. Look at that, fast break points. Get it. Okay, second try. All right, third try. Okay, see, there you go. I don't know if he's from Indiana. He might be from southern Indiana right there. But no, fun had by all. Certainly nothing like a little backyard basketball in the gravel too. Like that's, you know how you know when you enter Indiana, every single driveway has a basketball goal.
Even if it's gravel.
Even if it's gravel. Doesn't matter.
I like it. They're committed to the game. It's got to make it a little bit more challenging, though, to try to play basketball in the gravel.
It does. Try it firsthand. And then, of course, my dad, as soon as I graduated high school and I didn't have to shovel the gravel driveway anymore, he blacktopped it. Thanks, Dad. Thanks for that. Give my dad a shout-out for blacktopping the driveway when he had to remove the snow. And that's all I wanted as a kid, was to have a blacktop driveway for my basketball goal. But I digress.
As we saw from that last studio shot there, Ben Kelly has a little bit of height on both of us, Mikey.
You do,
so
yeah.
I'm sure if we had joined in that, we could have either got Ben on our team or he could have been dunking over top of us.
That's it.
Other.
Not much of a basketball player, but, hey, mess around with it here and there, a little cross-training. Could just be some fun, more of a knockout player.
Yeah, we have played some knockout over the years.
Okay.
Mikey, do you know what knockout is?
I do in the basketball terms of knockout, but I feel like you're.
You are. I'm talking about the basketball terms.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, no, I'm in. That was like
when
all
you don't
summer.
Really have to dribble.
You don't. Nope.
We did
pick it up, shoot, make it before the next guy.
You were back home, but the Ranch Russell crew in North Carolina definitely played some 3-on-3 too, and man, it just showed some great dirt bike riders. That's all. That's all I'll say. Myself, very
Finally,
much included.
I found a place where I could excel in athletics with you guys. We got to get together and play some basketball.
I will say this. Caleb Russell, very gritty, would probably still throw some elbows and
Guaranteed.
score on you. There you go. Johnny Girard on screen in the Monster Mile. Mile marker number 3.
Right,
and what will be the gap back to the 5:14 of Stu Baylor?
When they checked in, 19.9. We'll get a look at it here in the Monster Mile, and you got to think this is when we see Stu Baylor really start going to work.
Oh, Craig DeLong has made the pass, taking over the number 2 spot. Stu Baylor now back to 3rd. I don't know if we can get our producer, Adam Gordon. I'm getting excited if he can get us a gap there from that shot when he gets a moment. But so we have seen a shakeup in the number 2 position. Craig DeLong, Stu Baylor have swapped it out. I don't even know how many times at this point.
Yeah.
And now it's Craig back into the number 2 spot and Stu Baylor there in the number 3 spot.
Craig DeLong, 19 seconds, what the producer said. Adam Gordon for the gap. But Craig DeLong, Ben, he's looking like a man that's got a number 1 plate on his machine today. Really in the fight and just refusing to quit on the big Stu Baylor out there.
Oh, yeah. Riding with the confidence today. Good to see. Not making it easy on Stu. That's the last thing he wants, Stu's not going to win. He would like to at least be second, so he's going to have to do his best to try to make his way back by Craig.
Guys, update. Well, on screen we got a battle. We'll talk about this first. Craig DeLong has wrestled the number 2 spot away, but Stu Baylor looking like he is not content to sit back there in 3rd. Tries to run it up the inside. Oh. DeLong shuts the door. Stu has to settle there into the number 3 spot. The momentum from these two could push them up closer to Johnny Girard, or it could be wasted seconds of them, blocking insides.
Yeah.
Really one of those things. Do you want to battle it out for number 2, or do you want to work together for go after the leader? We'll see how this one shakes out. We did just see riders checking in. You can see on screen there on the left side of our screen. Guys, Jason Tino, 6th place overall from that 258 class. Now up deep inside the XC1 field with only 5 riders ahead of him after corrected time. Angus Reardon now has worked his way back around Grant Davis, look at that. Grant Davis all the way back to the number 10 spot overall. Must have had an issue there. Has he actually even checked in yet, Mikey? If we refresh that, looks like...
10th.
Okay, so he is still there in 10th. That is accurate then. And Liam Draper now taking over the number 2 spot in that XC2 class. Angus Reardon leading the way, so that would be a point swing for him. Obviously, Grant Davis dropping back to, at least for now, looking like it's 3rd in that XC2 class.
Yeah, we saw Grant won the last round, and Gus had a rough go, a few crashes, and was not the ride he wanted, so he's out there for redemption today.
Yeah, and that one really started off sideways for Angus. I mean, he just kind of got clipped there in turn number 3. It looked like they damaged the rear fender, which obviously holds the seat down. I think he was having, from what I'm told, was having problems keeping the seat on. They pitted, made some adjustments, finally got the seat on, but at that point, you know, you're so far back, you've lost your rhythm. It can just be hard to dig to get back up in there. Did well to even come back to gain some valuable points.
Yeah, of course, you got to fight to the end, but sometimes after the race, you know, you just lick your wounds and try to move on to the next round, put it behind you, learn from it, and that's what's good. You know, we do so much racing, and there's always another race ahead, just 2 weeks away to prove yourself and make up for lost points.
And no better way to make up for lost points, lick your wounds, than to come out and grab a win, which is exactly what he's doing right now, leading the way. What we had seen as a wheel-to-wheel battle between him and teammate Grant Davis, looking for now like it has shifted. Angus Reardon, what is the gap back to the number 2 spot there, Mikey?
You talking for XC2?
Yes.
5.7 seconds
so
back
look at
to
Liam Draper's put in a push, and he is now putting pressure on Angus there for that lead position. The factory Ampro Yamaha rider, really defending champion, another rider that definitely has not had the start to 2024 that I'm sure he was hoping for, but trying to make some inroads to get himself back in that championship hunt here today, making up ground on the leader in front of him. Now look at this, Stu Baylor back around Craig DeLong, it looks like.
And a few seconds in between them.
Yeah, and put a little gap there for sure.
Back and forth we go. It's like watching a heavyweight battle. DeLong, he's had that dog in him today, though. He has been not giving up, letting Baylor around him and pushing back up and getting in the fight. And obviously, they've been passing back and forth all day, so I have a feeling they're not done. Let's get some more.
Track like this, Ben, any advantage to being in that catbird seat there behind rather than leading? I mean, you can kind of see what ruts are working, what lines are working, or I guess if you're Stu Baylor, you may want to be in the catbird seat, but you want to be behind Johnny Gerard, not behind Craig DeLong. You want to be battling for the win, not for second.
Yeah, of course. Sometimes being right on the wheel there, let's say in second to first, can be beneficial. The guy out front is doing all the hard work, and you're able to just follow the lines and kind of keep your eyes up, see if you can find a new line where you can make a pass late in the race. But it also becomes tougher late in the race because the lines become, I guess,
more well-known? Or
yeah, more well-known, maybe defined. The fast race line becomes more defined. So everyone gets up to speed. They know where the bumps are. Even though the track does continue to break down for the most part, you're comfortable. You know where, you might have to be careful, where you could be aggressive. So making late race passes is more difficult than early on.
So are the days of saving a line all the way till the end of a race just gone? I know back in the day that's something that used to be talked about as you'd walk a track, you'd bike a track. This was even the days before e-biking. You know, you'd find a line, you'd step it off, you'd know it's legal within the 25 feet. Maybe it was a little bit iffy as far as the entrance, or you had to run a couple things over to get into it. And we've talked about this a little bit before. Guys will say, hey, don't even walk through that. Don't disturb the leaves. You know, don't try to like groom it at all. We're going to send it, and we're going to save this one right till the end. Anything that you think is still in play, or is it kind of everything gets used up with so many racers, so many races? You know, you might be saving it, but somebody else is going to take it anyway.
Yeah, I think that, you know, those types of things were before my time of GNCC racing. Kind of as long as I've been around, we've been able to ride the bikes, and everyone does it, so you really can't hide a line from anybody. So if you're trying to save it, someone may end up using it on you to make a pass. So it's tough. For the most part, you try to take the fast line all the time.
All right, so what we're seeing, I believe that is Stu Baylor's center camera shot. Yeah, we got a left rider there in between. Out front still, the 969 of Johnny Gerard leading the way. But, man, Stu is on a charge. Looks like he has now opened up the biggest gap we've seen over the number 1 of Craig DeLong in quite some time. Zach Heron hopping back in here. Zach, man, this one's really starting to shake itself out, and Stu Baylor looks to be charging. Obviously, he went down there, got the update from his team with regards to the pit strategy, Any insight as if you think he'll have to stop again, or have we seen the final stop for Stu Baylor, do you think?
Well, so I was actually right beside the Rocky Mountain Red Bear tent. Tried to ask. They were kind of in the midst of chaos. All right, we had some people who were headed off back into the woods. The short answer, no, I didn't get any good answers. I did see Stu Baylor with quite possibly the best water bottle save I've ever seen. I saw you guys had the basketball tournament going on. He grabbed it from his wife Jade, had it all of a sudden like tossed it up in the air, shook his hand, grabbed it again. That alone was pretty impressive. I needed to mention that spot. But as far as the fueling goes, no clear answer quite yet. It does look like they're prepared for it, but as far as the actual pit strategy goes, nothing clear quite yet, but a lot of chaos down in that pit lane. A couple of riders even clipping the post markings down that first straightaway as they're entering. They're splitting hairs, carrying their momentum, especially these top guys. And one rider actually came together with one of those PVC poles, got shot off to the side. I don't know how they stayed on the motorcycle, but yeah, the pit's just as exciting as the rest of this race.
So the intensity is at an all-time high, and if you watched what looked to be Stu Baylor charging through that creek section there, that was just a bulldog line. Didn't even try to make it smooth, just right to the center, found a rut on the other side, slammed that Red Bear Rocky Mountain Kawasaki into the rut, and just full power, all throttle from that 450 machine. You saw the roost just flying behind, full charge mode. Stu Baylor is in pursuit of Johnny Gerard, trying to chip away at what we last saw was a 19-second gap.
Yeah, Stu right now is really ramping up the intensity, if there is any more. And it's kind of like Ben had asked earlier. You just brought it up a second ago. The days of, hey, maybe we're running at 90% and then we'll use that last 10% in the final hour. Yeah, I don't think you can, especially after last year with the depth that we saw in this XC1 field. I mean, deep down, they all know that these guys are capable of it. As we see Johnny Gerard on screen, he didn't get his first win of the season until this race last year. Now a little bit of a different story here in 2024. Let's see if we can find the gap. There is Stu. So it's tightening up for sure.
About 10 seconds, maybe a little more.
There you go. So 10 seconds. What was a 19-second gap, now 10. Stu Baylor on the charge. Worth pointing out, a lot of momentum in the swing here. Obviously, Stu Baylor grabbing the win at our last round. Johnny Gerard really just kind of adding points to the tally the 4 previous rounds and just continuing to open up that lead over everyone else, even when he finished second to Dante Oliveira. Dante not in the championship points hunt, so it was just kind of like more points. Stu able to chip away at that gap last round, so a lot of momentum in the balance here, just kind of hanging. If Stu Baylor's able to catch Johnny, make the pass, and grab the win again, another valuable 5 points in that championship hunt. If Johnny Gerard's able to hold on to this one, the momentum kind of swings back in his direction.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see Johnny obviously coming off of that bad race. We say that he still got up on the podium, but wasn't feeling great. And I don't really think he was too shaken up by that. Obviously, like Ben had said earlier, hey, if you race long enough, eventually you're going to have a race where you feel under the weather. Stu, on the other hand, he's kind of the guy where he finds motivation in the highs and the lows. If something goes wrong, we say he's a little ticked off. He's got a chip on his shoulder. If things go right, they say he's got his confidence and he's got the momentum on his side. So right now, yeah, it's just going to be what is driving Stu Baylor at this next round. If he's able to keep it going, get another win to the tally, that really could be bad news. I'm not saying a chip on the shoulder is more valuable than confidence, but if he knows he can do it, starts to do it over again, what is it you say, Johnny? Results breed confidence, repeat, repeat, repeat.
Speaking of results breeding confidence, Mike Rakowski fresh off his first ever XC1 top 5, backing it up here, sitting in the number 5 spot behind Jordan Ashburn as they run. Man, that's results breed confidence, confidence breed results. That's on-screen proof of that saying right there. Craig DeLong on screen now at the 7-mile marker, still running in the number 3. So with Johnny and Stu did already come through. Now we're looking at our 3rd place rider of Craig DeLong. Still in the mix here, but he is definitely kind of in the last 2 miles lost the toe from Stu Baylor, was right there, but still solidly in a podium position.
Yeah, and I heard you guys mention it. I was actually riding through the pits trying to find where Jason Tino was pitting at. I wanted to see if I could get a word with his crew, because what a performance. I've gotten to interview this guys multiple times. We interviewed the top 3 amateurs at the end of the podium celebration here in person at GNCC, and gotten to talk to him a few times. And man, he's just a cool, calm, collected, hey man, I tried my best. He doesn't really get too upset if he doesn't get the results he's looking for. But man, I mean, to break inside the top 10, be knocking on a top 5, what more can you say about Jason Tino other than he's on fire right now?
Yeah, I mean, this is a ride that a memorable one for sure. I mean, he's just absolutely sending it. Everything going his way today. He's worked hard. He's put himself in this position, and today he's capitalizing on it. Not only leading that 258 class, but as you pointed out, 6th place in the overall.
Yeah, and actually got a little bit of insight from Racer Control there. Jason, growing up doing a lot of wrestling in high school. If you know anything, if you know any wrestlers personally, the mentality, the ability to suffer, as a lot of people say, it's ingrained in wrestling, whether making weight, losing weight to make weight, whatever it is. So maybe a little bit of that fighter's mentality transferring over, and clearly he's willing to suffer here late in this 3-hour race with about half an hour to go.
Yeah, and he's been working hard, obviously, you know, able to show that off here, but a lot of grit, that guy, definitely. I mean, all these guys out here, all the top riders have a ton of grit, but I would say, I would venture to argue that Jason Tino has a little bit of extra grit compared to even some of the top riders. He just really wants to prove himself, and you know, having that belief in yourself and a little chip on your shoulder can go a long way some days.
Yeah, he's never been the rider you hear making excuses. It's not the bike, it's not the conditions, it's always him. He always comes back to, but it's my job to improve. It's my job to adapt. And so I think that really says a lot about his character as far as the willingness to put it all on himself. And clearly when he's feeling good, when things are going his way, he's got the ability to back it up inside the top 10 against the best in the world.
Looks like we may have what looks to be Stu Baylor possibly here on screen from our Yamaha Racing live drone in the number 2 spot. So there is Johnny Gerard now at the 8-mile marker. We'll see what the gap is. 29:43 as he came by that camera shot. Pan back and find Stu Baylor coming our way. 10, 11, 12, about 13 seconds back to Stu Baylor. So looked like Stu had got it down right at 10 seconds. Now Johnny able to stretch it out another 3 seconds. How far back is Craig DeLong? Again, that is the gap that seems to have opened up here late in lap number 6.
And I still think with Craig DeLong, obviously the gap opening up a little more significantly now, but to get back on the podium, to get back in these kind of positions, just to be in the fight this long, I think has got to be a step in the right direction for the number 1.
Yeah, and the 2 guys ahead of him are the guys that, you know, have really established themselves right now as the top 2 title contenders for 2024. So, you know, he raced them, is still racing them, but for 2 hours and, you know, 15 minutes, give or take, you know, was right there throwing blows with the best of them. And it seems now that maybe that effort that he's put out has kind of taken its toll, or you know, maybe there's a crash we saw off camera, but either way, the gap has opened up back to Craig DeLong. Still not, you know, a crazy amount of time that couldn't be made up, but he's really going to have to push or get a little bit of luck come his way to run down Johnny Gerard and Stu Baylor at this point.
Johnny Gerard, a fan favorite. We're talking to fans off and on the track. There you see Lap Rider giving him a little, come on, bring it home for us. And that's always got to feel cool, right, Ben? I'm sure you've had an experience like that when not only does the lap rider get out of your way and let you get to racing, but he gives you a little cheering on as you go by.
Yeah, of course, a little extra motivation. Maybe those guys talk to some of them honestly, and they're like, man, it's fun to get a first-hand view of you guys passing us and watch you for, you know, whether it's 1 corner, 3 corners. But yeah, they're out there because they love riding dirt bikes, and they get to experience the track as well as the race at the same time.
Yeah, this morning out there, I got lapped by Hot Rod. Charlie Mullins, I know a former mentor of you and trainer, came back, raced his first GNCC in a very, very, very long time, a former champion. You know, having him come blow by me, it was like, oh, okay, so that's how it looks when you're good at this. And yeah, he was making it look easy, grabbing the overall from that Sportsman A class. Just out there, shows the family atmosphere of GNCC. Charlie and his family obviously run the Moto Tees, the gear bicycle for the Specialized bicycles here at GNCC. And since he's got to be here anyway, wants to be here anyway, he decided, you know, it's been a long time since I've raced a dirt bike. His son Daxton now racing in the 65, I believe grabbed the win earlier today in the 65 class in that youth dirt bike race. And Charlie said, you know, I've been riding with Dax some, so I figured, heck, might as well come out and race. So very cool to see him out there. And like you said, I mean, having legends out there racing at the same time as somebody who's maybe racing their first GNCC is a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, Daxton winning his class this morning, and he wanted to go see Dad, so he wasn't up on the podium. I was talking with Jackson. He's like, I don't know where Mullins was at, and then all of a sudden, there goes Charlie, and it all makes sense. So yeah, I say it all the time. I don't care what sport you're talking about. Very rarely you don't go to your local Pee-wee basketball game and get to see LeBron James later in the afternoon. Yeah. Here at GNCC, you're on the same track. You got guys see the same kids. A lot of these kids traveling the country doing the GNCC series, getting to watch their heroes after their morning race. And I think that really helps tie in that family atmosphere, whether it's mom, little sister, somebody doing the EMTB. Everybody's got something going on. Even the four-legged friends have got the dog show.
Absolutely.
So everybody's included.
Something for everybody. The Stasic race was off the hook last night. And I'll throw it back to the Charlie Mullins thing one more time. I asked him on Friday when we were talking about it. I said, hey, do your kids even really remember you racing? And he just laughed and said no. He said, you know, he's got Cooper, Dax, and Bodie, you know, and they just, you know, they were babies when he was finishing up his racing career. So, you know, it was cool for them, like you said, to skip the podium, get right out there and watch Dad, you know, on a dirt bike. Pretty cool.
Well, if Daxton didn't remember, he got a taste of what it was like because, man, that was an impressive performance out there. Got him in that first place spot and pretty much brought it home from here.
Tell you what's not impressive is the amount of lap traffic that Stu Baylor's having to navigate here. So that is probably going to play into the gap. Johnny Gerard obviously also had to navigate that before Stu got there. But, man, that was a lot of lapped riders there. And then, Ben, I see you kind of smirking. That's GNCC racing right there, huh?
Yeah, Lapper's playing a role, but no, smirking a little there because Stu was charging. Didn't take a second to grab a water bottle there from his wife. So yeah, he's not concerned. He knows one lap to go. Every second counts, and he's just gonna. We know Stu's tough, you know. He's got energy.
And Stu is also a rider that does wear hydration packs. So he, you know, a lot of times the riders will dial in Craig DeLong on screen now in the GBC Power Sports Tires pit stop area. Still in that number 3 spot. Rounding out our podium as they run, we see a hydration bottle waiting for him. And he does take the time to grab that, wanting a little bit of hydration. They dial in their hydration. It's not always just water in those. Sometimes there'll be additives based on, you know, different parts of the race. Sometimes they'll have sugar water. Sometimes they'll have, you know, like a liquid IV or whatever supplement they use. Sometimes they're, you know, it's just water. It just depends on what they're needing in that moment.
Yeah, for sure. I've talked about the hydration mix before on this show.
Whoa.
Is that Stu ahead of Johnny G?
Stu Baylor ahead of Johnny Gerard. I'm guessing Johnny Gerard's taking a splash of fuel?
He possibly could have stopped for a splash.
So maybe Johnny Gerard went down. Something happened there. Stu Baylor, new leader. It is the 5:14 of Stu Baylor leading away. Hot on his heels. Johnny Gerard in the number 2 spot, and we'll wait here. Looks like comes the nope, not yet. But the number 1 of Craig DeLong will be checking in here. I mean, we could tell you what the gap was, but you saw it on screen, inches. That's the difference between Stu Baylor out front and Johnny Gerard in the number 2 spot as they run. Now we come back. Jordan Ashburn on screen, and just behind him, the 282 Phoenix Honda of Mike Witkowski. That is 4th and 5th, working their way through those chicanes.
Looked like Craig DeLong was just exiting the shot there.
There we go. Looks like if we refresh our screen there and see what we have for a gap back to Craig DeLong there in the number 3 spot. Zach Heron, our man on a mission, getting us that information.
I'm no mathematician here, folks, but here's what I'm
49
seeing.
seconds behind.
Wow, you got good eyes, man. That's impressive. So
Looks
Ben
like
Kelly.
Craig's starting to fade a little bit, but I mean, that could just come from, you know, the few little problems he's had earlier in the races where he wasn't able to finish. But yeah, still hanging tough there in 3rd. Stu and Johnny, who are the 2 who have established themselves fighting for the championship right now, are charging, like we saw Stu just grabbing that first place spot from Johnny, and we're going to have some excitement here on this last lap.
Yeah, and with the white flag waving, you know, surely Craig not giving up on the hope or the dream of a win here, but at the same time, we can see it is still a substantial gap over the number 3 of Jordan Ashburn, who is now checking in the number 2, or in the number 4 spot, very closely behind Mike Witkowski, and the gap back from Craig DeLong is
about 1 minute and 3 seconds from Craig back to Jordan Ashburn, and then Mike Witkowski 2.2 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn. So
if you're a Jordan Ashburn or Mike Witkowski fan, you want to see those guys get on the podium, they need to make up about 1 minute and 2 seconds to get to Craig DeLong. Really going to have to put a charge here in on the white flag lap. Wait, we'll watch and see. We may have our leaders from that XC2 class checking in here, or we might jump ahead to our next camera shot. We'll see where those guys are at on track. And it'll be interesting to see, will it still be Stu Baylor, who has now wrestled the lead or somehow acquired the lead? We don't know exactly what happened, but Johnny Gerard was leading in the GBC Tires pit stop area and then flash ahead to the finish line. Stu Baylor comes through leading, Johnny Gerard on his rear wheel. Something transpired in that section of racetrack that swapped the lead.
Well, and Johnny, you can probably tell us since you've been out there, we had a lot of riders talking about the area like coming towards the finish line and then just after really being tricky, and also a spot where we've seen a lot of lap riders go down. So it could have been something like that where you had a rider down in the line Johnny was choosing.
Yeah, I mean, and it is like kind of you pop out into a field section just before the finish, and then there's one little last wood section. When you go in there, the ruts are incredibly deep, and once you're committed to a rut, you're kind of in it. So, like you said, it could be one of those things where, maybe Johnny got in a rut behind a lapped rider stalled it or got stuck, and it's not a especially challenging section, but it's just you're kind of committed to those ruts once you're in.
So taking a look, got the Yamaha Racing Live drone back up and rolling here. Looks like we're chasing, there is Stu Baylor on screen, mile 2. Out front and still roughly about that 2 to 3 second mark over Johnny Girard.
There you go. So that is the battle for the lead. They're 2 miles into our final lap of racing. Nothing but mileage. No laps left remaining except for the miles here on this one. And there is the gap that you see on screen. The rider in front, Stu Baylor. The rider behind, Johnny Girard. Each one of these guys wanting a piece of this win today and working very hard to get it. Stu Baylor has been behind all day. Johnny Girard leading from the drop. This is the first time we've seen him not in the lead, and it's Stu Baylor that has wrestled the lead away.
And now we get to see them kind of ebb and flow their way through. It looks like Stu maybe opened up another bike length or so. And like you said, on that last lap, you could just see in the body language of Stu, there's not really any concern for anything but getting in that number 1 spot. Whatever he's got to do, he will move the water out of the way. We've seen him try to take the trees out of the way as well. That one didn't work. But,
it's got to, Ben, we'll ask this one of you. Like, obviously, Johnny having led the entire race to this point, do you feel like he's maybe at a bit of a disadvantage on this last lap because he hasn't really had to make passes? The lines that he's been running have kind of been his own. He doesn't really know what other lines, obviously, the lines he's been running are working. But that said, you think there's an advantage or a disadvantage to the fact that he hasn't really been in any battles to this point?
It's maybe a little disheartening more than anything, knowing that this guy ran you down and passed you late in the race, but also he's been choosing all of his own lines. So it's one of those things where maybe he'll switch it up and start following Stu's lines. Maybe those are what allowed Stu to catch him, or he could be so stuck in his own lines and it being late in the race, could be a little nervous to start exploring. We'll kind of have to see what he decides to do, but let's hope he can stay close enough here in the woods and try to make a pass and run them open field sections.
And do you think there's anything to the fact of possibly him saving a little bit of energy now that he is behind Stu, not kind of trying to run from an imaginary pursuer? He sees the leader in front of him. He knows the gap. If he's able to match that pace and just continue to stay with Stu, maybe kind of take a breath, take a couple drinks from the Camelback, refresh himself, and get ready for, as you pointed out, what may turn into a battle in the final field sections.
Honestly, I don't think he has the opportunity to take a breath or a drink, because if he does, he'll lose Stu's wheel, and that's the last thing he wants to do. He needs to stay in it. He cannot relax. As we see Stu is charging, I'd like to see this maybe a really fast lap for the final. Stu wants this win bad. Same with Johnny. So they're going to be charging. They're going to be going all out this whole final lap.
2 different lines up the hill.
Johnny is still fighting.
Yeah, definitely still fighting. He's not settling into a pace behind Stu. He's giving it everything he has, and he wants that lead back, and it looks like he wants it back right now.
Of course, that was mile 3, so we still have about 7 to go. A lot of opportunity. We've seen a lot of passes. We talk about it being hard to pass nowadays with the placards, all the funneling down they're doing into the corners, but we've seen tons of passes, between all these riders today, Stu especially.
Yeah, and I think this one with the ruts kind of almost offers more passing opportunities because it does separate, what might be normally a one-line section into 2 or 3 different lines because of the ruts.
For sure.
So here at the Monster Mile, Stu Baylor still leading the way. Got hung up just a little bit in that corner.
A lot of times we'll see when a rider gets the lead, they kind of put that initial burst in to really kind of break the rider behind him. If that was the plan, so far looking like Johnny Girard does have an answer for the speed and the push that Stu Baylor is laying down.
So getting word that it we're waiting. We don't have footage of it, but we're hearing that there might have been the splash of fuel, like you mentioned, Johnny. I don't really. We didn't see it, so it's hard to say, but we did see at one point Johnny Girard was there.
Yeah.
He had the lead, and then all of a sudden it was gone. So maybe that would make sense. Quite honestly, I'm excited to hear what the interview is afterwards as far as what happened, because didn't have a Racer TV camera right there to find out for sure. So be interesting there. It definitely kind of seemed like it just disappeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, we'll hear after the race. I wouldn't venture to say it would be a pit for fuel outside of the pits, because that's not allowed. So it could have been a pit for goggles, could have been a pit for, we'll leave that one to the rule officials, but the rules are very clear on that one. Fueling for XC1 and XC2 riders must be within their designated pit area. Unless such instance that they actually run completely out of fuel, then you may get enough fuel to get back to your pits, at which time you would have to stop. So that said, the only way that Johnny Girard would have pitted outside of his pits was if he ran completely out of fuel.
There is Craig DeLong. And it almost looks like DeLong's kind of just settling. I'm not saying he's happy where he's at, but at this point, he's lost the sight of those guys in front of him. Very difficult to try to track down that time. Didn't look like he had any immediate pressure behind him. Like we said, roughly a minute or so back to Jordan Ashburn.
Yeah, a minute two, but he was near a minute back from the riders in front of him. Kind of alone on an island, really, if you're Craig DeLong. But, hey, man, if you're going to be alone on an island, make it a podium.
Yep.
It's a great place to be. Still wheel-to-wheel looking like here with our leader, Stu Baylor, and Johnny Girard there in the number 2 spot. Not really opening up at all. Stu just charging, absolutely slamming that machine into the ruts. Now it is Jordan Ashburn there in the number 4 spot. And still, hats off to this guy right here, Mike Lukowski, in the number 5 spot solidly, and just shadowing Jordan Ashburn move for move.
Taking a look back to your leaders, looks like Girard has closed it in just a little bit. We saw them making their way around a lap rider. We've talked about it before, the good times to catch lappers and the bad times to catch lappers. And so we'll see whether this will work into the favor of Stu or Johnny.
Yeah, and it definitely could become a factor here. I mean, obviously, if a lap rider doesn't sense Stu Baylor coming, could jam Stu up. But by the same token, that's just a coin flip. I mean, Stu could get by, the lapper could not realize that Johnny is back there as well, pull back in, and that could change the face of this race completely.
That's where it'll help if Johnny can stay right on Stu's wheel, whereas when the lapper pulls over, in sense, Johnny can get by at the same time. Hopefully that lapper has enough awareness to not just turn right back in without looking.
And I have a feeling that if that situation arises, which I'm sure will many times on this last lap, Johnny Girard might be wearing out the rev limiter on that KTM 350, making sure that those lap riders know, hey, there's not just one bike back here, there's 2. It's one of those things you as the rider behind, obviously have to make the rider in front aware that you're coming, and these guys are coming at a very high rate of speed.
So we lose sight of him for just a minute in the Indiana foliage.
Another thing to mention, a rider we saw running up front, Lyndon Snodgrass. Now I don't really see his name on the top 20, so maybe an issue from him.
Yeah. And we'll see, Zach, you got that handy-dandy live scoring there. What is the breakdown in that XC2 class? Looks like we've had a shake-up. Grant Davis back up to the number 3 spot, or maybe was still in the number 3 spot, but they have all now worked their way back around Jason Tino in the overall. What are the gaps there in that XC2 class, and how's it shaking out?
So just looking at your XC2 class, it's Gus Reardon taking over the number 1 spot. He's got a 12-second lead over Liam Draper. Grant Davis another 8 seconds back. Cody Barnes has worked his way back up to 4th, and Brody Johnson rounding out the top 5 for your XC2 class. And then dropping back to your overall, it looks like Tino has dropped back down. He's holding strong in 9th, so he's still inside that top 10 on the overall.
Still solidly in the top 10. So a couple things to point out there. Obviously, the points battle in that XC2 class, with Reardon leading the way now, Davis back there in 3rd, that things will tighten up a little bit, but only 8 seconds to Draper and 12 seconds from Draper to Reardon. That one likely not yet settled. Still very close gaps there. And then shout out to, Cody Barnes and Brody Johnson there. You pointed out Brody, a fill-in ride for that factory beta team in position for his brother John. So pretty cool to see. They needed a rider, and they reached out to family and said, hey, we got a bike. Obviously you know us. We work with your brother, and he's put it in the top 5 here today for him, so shout out to him there.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe had the practice bike just sitting there at the family house, so easy enough for him to jump on it and give it a try.
Look at this, the absolute charge that Johnny Gerard around the outside trying to close the gap to Stu Baylor. Looks like it has opened up just a little bit. What was a few bike lengths, now maybe 4 or 5. It definitely has opened up just a little bit there in that section, and looking like Stu Baylor charging, just absolutely blitzing everything. And this section here, this creek crossing coming up, is where we saw him just a lap ago, absolutely just bulldog right up the middle. And I think we'll probably see it.
Johnny G crash.
Johnny G is down, and that may be the tail of the race right there, folks.
A quick remount. Hard to say what happened there, whether he cross-rutted, clipped the tree.
Valuable seconds lost, though. He's really going to have to put a push now these final miles to try to close up that gap to Stu Baylor. Stu Baylor likely will take a look over his shoulder when they get to the fields and see that he's opened up the gap. Only confidence for him, and that is Stu Baylor again on the left there, just charging through. No look over the shoulder this time, just trying to make ground. We'll see if we can get a split as they exit here on the drone.
Johnny's going to have to dig deep here. Looks like he's messing with a little something. Could be his drink pack, could be hitting at his hand guards.
Looks like about 15 seconds, 15 seconds to me is what it looks like. So what was a couple bike lengths, now almost 15 seconds the gap back.
We saw Stu last race was out front, though, and made a mistake similar to what Johnny just did. Had a crash super late in the race and allowed Jordan to get right on his wheel. So anything's possible. Johnny's going to be charging as hard as he can. Stu's going to be charging as hard as he can. Let's see if Johnny can make up the time, whether Stu has a mistake or not.
So continuing to watch here on the Yamaha Racing Live drone, Stu Baylor up in front in the driver's seat. As Ben was pointing out, hey, a couple mistakes a week ago allowed Ashburn to get back in the fight. I saw maybe Baylor's always calculated, right? I got to think that he's in the back of his head going, smooth is fast, hit your marks. And I say that, and he's charging right there up the FMF PowerPoint, but doesn't want to repeat.
Smooth.
Yeah, not super smooth right there. He's hauling the mail. And Gerard, like you guys have pointed out from the Yamaha Racing Live drone, looked like he was almost checking something out. Back to business now.
These are both two really gritty riders, you know. I'm sure their mind's telling them no right now. Their bodies are shutting down, but they're charging. They want the glory. Johnny Gerard coming out of the woods, team cheering him on, getting kicked around. This track is broken down a lot.
So rough. I've not been watching these as long as you have, Johnny, but I think you mentioned it earlier, this is the roughest you've seen it out there in these open field sections.
I mean, from the drone and from the camera, it looks rough, but it kind of always looks rough-ish. But I can tell you, being out there this morning, you know, and I'm used to being out there for the morning race, maybe not racing, but, you know, out there pedaling around throughout it, so I see how the track shapes up. The fields never, ever, ever have been as rough as they are today. There's been years where there was big holes, where it was dry and it kind of ate out, but the way it rutted up, it's almost like a prepped moto track where they dissed it, put water in it, and then you just get these crazy ruts with massive braking bumps. And yeah, it was pretty wild out there for sure.
Getting down to the nitty-gritty in this one, we are now under 9 minutes before we should see a checkered flag. Stu Baylor in the driver's seat. This mixes things up even more for the championship hunt, as Stu, if he can hang on to this, will be back-to-back wins, gets those bonus points for finishing in first. Gerard sitting second, so it doesn't give up a whole lot of points. I know we heard our producer Adam Gordon getting reports that Gerard pitted away from the pits. We don't know the details of that, so I don't want to speculate on what that may. But again, that may change things up too. If he did in fact take fuel, you got to think a penalty will probably be assessed on that. What that is, not sure.
Yeah, we've seen
but
that.
We don't know anything for certain.
We've seen that in the past, but again, we leave that to the officials. Sure. We're the guys that call the race action. We did not see any of that on screen. We're getting word from producer Adam Gordon and also some other people saying that there may have been a pit. Don't know that it was fuel. Don't know what it was. Right. Or we don't know.
Yeah, no idea.
We'll leave that to the officials. But again, we did quote the rule earlier. Fuel may only be taken within your designated pit or the designated pit area. Now, to be clear, if he was still within the pro pits, he doesn't necessarily have to be at his semi. It just needs to be within the designated pro pit area. So what that is, where that is, that will leave up to the officials, and they'll figure that out after the race. But right now, either which way, it allowed the race to close back up, Stu Baylor to get the lead, and then obviously we saw the crash on screen from Johnny Gerard that has now allowed what appears to be about a 15-second gap open up, and this one is now coming right down to the wire.
Baylor, Gerard, DeLong. DeLong, boy, we talked about him a lot today, kind of quietly back there in the number 3 spot, but boy, what a great ride this will be for him if he can hang on for a podium.
Yeah, quietly in the number 3 spot, but was making a lot of noise at the front through over 2 hours of racing here today, or right at 2 hours. Was up within sight of the lead, mixing it up with Stu Baylor in the number 2 spot. I think he and Stu passed each other 163 times. There was outside passes, inside passes, different lines, different pit strategies, and it was very, very exciting to watch. So, yeah, definitely seems like a lot of confidence and excitement interjected into Craig DeLong today, and he's really put himself in a good position throughout the day.
Ashburn, another solid ride for him. Great ride for Wachowski. Wachowski may be looking at back-to-back top 5 finishes. That's just, I mean, he's got to feel really good about that heading into Ohio in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you got a guy that's never had a top 5 in XC1 and then to do it back-to-back races. Granted, it is his rookie season, and that in and of itself is actually quite impressive, to put 2 top 5s together in your rookie season. And, frankly, not a rider that had a ton of hype coming into the season. He did try out XC1 at the end of last season, but, he really seems to have found a great home there with that Phoenix Racing Honda team, and he's getting some good results up on the board.
Yes, he is. Waiting on the leaders at mile marker number 8. Looking for the 514 Kawasaki of Stu Baylor. Waiting, looking. Hey, how are you? So still charging Stu, looking a little more smooth than earlier. Stu in control, man.
In control, and right now, barring something unforeseen, he has a big enough gap, given the track that is remaining, that Johnny Gerard, it really would take a mistake from Stu or an absolutely extraordinary effort from Johnny Gerard to make up that gap.
Yeah, it looks about 20 seconds as they both jump through these trees here as the lap rider's going through.
So it was just a few bike lengths. We saw the crash on screen from Johnny Gerard, opening up what appeared to be about a 15-second gap then, now has grown to 20 seconds. So Stu Baylor putting down a pace. Johnny Gerard didn't appear to be full sprint mode there. I got to believe, we don't have a onboard communication with these guys, but if you're Johnny Gerard, at some point you can see Stu now probably too far gone. You don't want to take any silly chances and throw away what's looking like a likely second place finish crossing the line. But at the same time, you don't want to settle. You got to keep it close. As we saw just 2 weeks ago, Jordan Ashburn could have easily settled into that number 2 spot, but he just kept pushing. Stu Baylor had that little tip over, actually 2 little tip overs that led to suddenly a wheel-to-wheel battle coming to the finish.
Kind of interesting is, like, we don't want to reflect back on the race yet. It's not over yet. Checkers hasn't flown, but what got Stu Baylor to this point, the pit strategy that he had where he picked up, what was it, 4 positions?
Yeah, 4 positions.
As he bypassed the pit, or went through the pit without stopping, should say, to clarify, and picked up all those positions, and then it put him in a battle with Gerard. And again, don't know what happened with Gerard, but yeah, Baylor's strategy coming into play, paying off big for him today.
Yeah, we know he's voiced a few times where he hasn't been happy with maybe the way things have gone, miscommunications with himself and the team. They're working those kinks out, and today using that teamwork to their advantage.
Yeah, no doubt. So Baylor in the lead. We are now under 5 minutes from seeing the checkered flag, right at about a 3-minute mark before we should see what we expect to be 5-1-4 Stu Baylor checking in for the race win. Is that Craig? Craig DeLong moving through right there, still in that 3 spot. So pretty big gap on an island by himself, but nonetheless, pretty fantastic day, knock on wood, for Craig DeLong.
Steps in the right direction if you're Craig DeLong. I mean, You know, what was just such a struggle turned into a 4th place at our last round, looking like a likely podium here today. You know, you got to just say, hey, we're making steps in the right direction. We're making strides. Yeah, I'm a defending champion, and I want to get myself up to the position where I'm winning races. And, you know, it's kind of a long shot points-wise, but maybe get myself in the mix for a championship here in 2024. Yeah. But podiums are a great start to working your way back to where you want and need to be.
What I said to Ben earlier was today seems like the first race we've had from Craig where, like, he looks like that defending champ. He looks like the man with the #1 plate today. He looks like Craig from last year, so certainly
definitely pushing.
Doing well.
Stu Baylor on screen. That is your leader working through the Ironman motocross section. A little bit backwards, a little bit sideways, but these are sections of this, and this is where we saw the pass for the lead yesterday. Don't think we're going to see that today. We actually saw that go on off camera less than a lap ago. Stu Baylor taking the lead away, and now kind of just going through the paces. Not a whole lot of challenging racetrack left between him and what will be a checkered flag waving.
Yeah, we don't want to jinx him here, but looks like he has enough of a gap where he can just ride it in, play it smart, and grab, I guess, his second win of the season.
Yeah, it would be his second win of 2024. Johnny Gerard having 3 wins, and then obviously our visiting rider, Dante Oliveira, with 1 win.
Mercy. Scoot. Stu Baylor into pro row here, into the pits, in through the pits.
See if his team is out under the tent, middle of the track, cheering him on, yelling, or if they're already making their way to the finish line.
That is a tight corner.
That is a very tight corner.
Looks like they're already over at the finish line.
There's a few of them celebrating.
Cheering.
He looked like he was making a gesture, maybe wiping off the front number plate. It almost looked like.
We've seen him do that before, so it could be.
Yep, making sure everybody knows who's crossing the finish line when the 514 machine comes across. Got this little open section, and then it's just a short little jaunt through the woods. Some deep ruts, but that will be the wraps on this one, it looks like.
Stu, great ride today. Strategic, methodical, however you want to put it, man. That was a well done job by Stu Baylor trying to bring it home. Now, a few more turns to get through before we should see that checkered flag as he will say hello to Ricky Towery. Do we get the loop out?
I don't know if we'll see that. You never know.
It's a gamble.
Here it comes, final turns.
Time to find out. Checkered flag flying, Ricky Towery, and there he is, the 5-1-4. He said, go get you another lap, bud.
There you go. He's asking those guys, hey, you want to do one more? I'll wait and let you cross the finish line. That gentleman said, no, thank you, sir. I've had enough.
I am good. So there you go. Congratulations to Stu Baylor on that Red Bear Kawasaki, Rocky Mountain ATV MC Red Bear Kawasaki. Saying hello to his wife Jade, his mechanic. A job well done today. Pit strategy certainly playing a huge part for that for Stu Baylor, paying off big here at the Hoosier. Second, there is Gerard. 969 checking in that 2 spot. Finishes 24.4 seconds back from Stu Baylor.
Definitely a bit heartbreaking, but still still a solid ride. Still good points. Still going to leave this round with the points lead.
So yeah, maybe some miscommunication there between Gerard and the team. Not sure. Hopefully we'll be able to get a scoop on that. But nonetheless, there is Stu Baylor celebrating. And
giving a fist bump to the fans.
That's it. Stand by. We'll get an interview with Stu, and we'll find out about everything that went into today's race. Getting a little dirt bugs out. And waiting on Craig DeLong, expecting Craig to check in for that 3 spot. And boy, it's something to hold his head high about today if he can hang on for a podium finish for the #1, the defending champ. And Jason Tina, we'll keep our eyes on him. Johnny been talking about him. Last time he checked in with the white flag out, went back to 9th, but still a top 10. Pretty daggone impressive if he can hang on for that. Coming out of that 250A class, he'd be honored with your top amateur honor. In the XC2 class, Gus Reardon, Draper, and Grant Davis, your top 3 with the white flag out. We'll see how that sorts out in a moment as we continue to stand by for our interview with Stu Baylor, the winner from today.
And while we're getting that, I'm getting some news from some people that are down in the pro pits. They're saying, and again, second-hand information,
Sure.
we'll wait to get the officials, that Johnny Gerard may have pitted at the Yamaha semi, which would still be within the designated pro pit area, so no penalty would be assessed. But we'll leave that to the officials. But we've speculated a lot, so that information is coming through via text. Some people saying, yeah, we saw him. He pitted at the Ampro Yamaha semi.
Interesting.
He missed his KTM pit. They may have ran after him, and he had to come back. Would be had to wait for them to run up, and he pitted there. That would be legal as long as he didn't exit the designated pro pit area.
And that would make sense for the
Why
time
he
that he
lost
lost.
so much time.
The guys having to run down to him with the big gas can.
That's what wasn't adding up. Was
a splash of gas should be super quick. 5 to 8 seconds.
Even if it is outside of the pit area, it would still take the same amount of time. So the fact that he lost 20 seconds looks like that may be potentially what is being discussed now, or we don't know. We're speculating.
Yeah.
But we'll get word.
The boss.
I was going to say the boss
saying something.
The boss lady, Carrie Jo Russell, down there speaking with Craig DeLong, and Craig kind of nodding. So we'll wait on the official word from that. Stand by with us, folks. We'll get it all sorted out for you here in a moment. And maybe Zach Heron or Jackson Burrell, when it is appropriate, obviously, maybe stick your ear in there and maybe find out for us the scoop on what to expect out of this top three, see if it's going to be changed up at all. Again, Johnny Gerard, I think heading right back to the pits, a little dejected there. Don't know if that was reflecting on himself or what, but
could just be mad at himself.
That's it. Well, it sounds like Zach Heron standing by, maybe with a report or maybe with our winner, Stu Baylor.
Hey guys, I just wanted to give you an update. So I did get word from the race control. Johnny Gerard will receive a one-position penalty for pitting not in front of his pit. From what we're being told, it was in front of the Yamaha pit. We're getting race control going over, talking to all of the riders. But just to give you guys an update, he's not down here. He's already headed back to talk to his team. But one guy we are excited to talk to is this guy right here. He's celebrating, ladies and gentlemen, Stu Baylor. celebrating in style. The beast is officially unleashed here at the XC1 class. Stu Baylor, you get it done, man. It certainly wasn't easy, but nonetheless, you fight through and you get the ball rolling. Momentum in your favor. How you feeling?
Man, I'm beat. That was rough. But had a great team and a good pit strategy, and it worked out. So, man, I'm pumped on it. Yeah, I need to go sit down.
Take a seat, man. You've been working hard for it. Yeah, we asked, and sounds like that might be all for Stu Baylor. And so he was working hard. He said the pit strategy worked off like he hoped, and that might be all he's got to say, guys. Stu Baylor taking the win. He's chatting with his pits, taking a seat.
So Stu Baylor going to relax after taking that win, obviously laying it all out there on the track today. So sounds like Johnny, Stu takes the win outright as he takes a knee right there and rests up. Gerard going to be assessed a penalty, so Craig will inherit second. Gerard will now fall to third. Can I ask you to clarify that at all, or are you also in the same boat as me where it's still a little confusing?
I'm a little confused, but again, we're here in the booth.
That's right.
We don't have video footage of what happened. The explanation doesn't entirely doesn't all add up.
Sure.
But that said, the officials and the people that are down there that have the full assessment of what exactly happened have at this point made a decision that Johnny Gerard is assessed a one-position penalty for pitting not in front of his pits.
Okay.
But it sounds like still within the designated pro pits. I don't. But again, we don't know what happened. But we're told right from our man on scene there, Zach Heron says one-position penalty, meaning Johnny Gerard will finish third overall here today, and Craig DeLong in second. So still, if you're Craig DeLong, sure, second's better than third, better points, better finish, better bonus money, but at the same time, still was on the podium regardless of what did or didn't happen with Johnny. He definitely put himself in a position today where he's battling for a podium and frankly battling for a win for 2 hours.
Right.
And Stu Baylor, I mean, rare that we see him say, hey, I'm tired, but man, this guy, he was pretty far back early on.
Yeah.
And to put in the charges that he did just really shows how badly he wants these wins and how badly he wants to be in this championship fight. And from what we're being told right now, with Johnny Gerard finishing third, that would be a 9-point swing in the championship points.
And the one guy you didn't want to beat you that was in the 2 spot coming into today was Stu Baylor. Stu Baylor taking the win, getting those bonus points. So, yeah, we'll swing in the point situation right there. So, standing by, see if we can get an interview, at least with Craig DeLong.
Do we have our XC2 checked in?
If Gerard is down there. If we've got XC2,
looks like
that'd be
Angus
great, too.
Reardon came through.
Oh,
and Grant has checked in as well. And it looks like Jackson Burrell standing by with Craig DeLong.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Craig DeLong, now our second place. Craig, take us through your race here today.
My race today was good. I had a good start and I was pretty decent going in the woods, but I've had a bad line and I kind of got shuffled back a little bit. But it took me about 2 laps to kind of settle down, and then I loosened up and I was ready to roll. And I made a bunch of passes in the pit. The guys killed the pit, and we were quick, and I was able to make 2-3 passes and was able to get up in the, I think, second or third. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Me and Stu hooked up, and we sprinted pretty good there for 2.5, 3 laps, and kind of gapped ourselves. And then I was with him there like probably 2 laps ago, and I had nothing for him. He was on a roll, and I just put it in kind of like a cruise mode, kind of just brought it in. So man, it was a tough track, the soft dirt, and it was kind of sneaky hot out there, and just a physical track. So happy to come out here with a podium and with how the year's been going, and we're getting the momentum rolling. So I'm looking forward to the next couple weeks.
Craig, you're up there battling at the top once again. How do you feel going into round number 7?
House, and we haven't been there in a while, but last time I was there, or a couple years, I've won there in XC2, and I've had good rides there, so I'm excited, and the dirt's similar to home, and yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right, guys, that's Craig DeLong, your second place here today.
Well, there you go. Craig DeLong saying only an hour from his house for the next round there in Powerline Park in St. Clairsville, Ohio. So you know it'll be a little added motivation for him to really try to put in a great ride. Hey, second place today, only one more spot to go up, and that'd be to the front. Defending champ really starting to gain some momentum, but the momentum swing today big in the favor of the Red Bear Rocky Mountain Kawasaki team of Stu Baylor.
Yeah, pretty strange weekend. Boy, with the penalties on both days for a couple of pro riders, big names in these the pro classes as well. I hate to see it. I don't know if Gerard, I'm going to guess Gerard's probably back in the pits. I don't think we're going to get an interview with him, would be my guess. Sounds like we do have our winner, though, out of the XC2 class, Angus Reardon.
Yeah, guys, one person I am going to get to interview is the XC2 winner, Angus Reardon. Angus, take us through getting your win here today.
It was a long race. Up until, the second pit stop, it was me, Grant, and Lamb just all swapping leads. It's like none of us wanted to lead, but I'd get up front, try to, but I just make a mistake, lose the lead again, and then wasn't until that second pit stop I was able to feel comfortable again and get it moving.
You look great here today. How do you feel going into round number 7?
After a good rebound from last round, so I'm ready to go for round number 7.
All right, guys, that's your XC2 winner, Angus Reardon.
Well, hey, big congratulations to Angus Reardon and, boy, the XC2 class. Great day for Grant Davis, finishing in the 2 spot, and Liam Draper, the defending champ, putting it on the box in 3rd.
There you go. Yeah, so the XC2 shook out. We had quite a battle in that class, a lot of lead changes, and ultimately Angus Reardon getting it done.
Well, as we get things wrapped up here today, we want to take a look at that specialized race recap to highlight some of the big things from today. The 969, that reverse plate, Johnny Gerard, boy, had just about a flawless ride going today, boys, and then just, I'm not sure what happened, but it did not end up that way when it was all said and done. But, boy, off to a great start was the 969. What a wild hole shot this was. Gerard sneaking in there and grabbing it away from Craig DeLong. Craig having a sensational day as well.
Yeah, Craig, Johnny Gerard out front, really kind of unchallenged throughout the early parts of this race, really till about the 2-mile mark, or 2-hour mark, when it looked like Stu Baylor put in a push, got hooked up with Craig DeLong, and you could see the battles early, fast and furious, with Jordan Ashburn, see Mike Witkowski, Craig DeLong, those guys battling inside podium positions, and we finally got to pit stops.
I love the battles we had. We had like a 3-4-way battle there, and DeLong, as Ben Kelly, you had pointed out early, man, he had an opportunity there to go in on Witkowski and make a pass, wasn't able to do it. At some point, though, Craig found that dog back in him today and started making it happen. I don't know if that was kind of what woke him up, being in that battle, or what.
He did mention there in his post-race interview that he had some tightness, so maybe he just wasn't feeling it quite yet, didn't have the confidence or the comfort, so kind of hung back, maybe gave them guys a spot, and then as we saw, mounted the charge later once he loosened up.
getting warmed up. They call him the Diesel, right? Am I mistaken? Yeah, Craig Diesel. Took him a little bit to get warmed up. We're about it. As the race wore on, it became Girard and Baylor going back and forth. Baylor taking the reins of this race.
And there we see the Johnny Girard crash.
Yep.
That is what ultimately was the final nail in the coffin for Stu Baylor to able to get that done. He had already wrestled the lead away, but that just opened up what was just a couple bike length gap to 15 seconds, then 20, and this is just the final stretch of Stu Baylor just on a cruise, bringing it into the finish line. Johnny Girard, you can tell, just kind of dejected a little bit with that crash, and maybe obviously what he kind of might have figured was a looming penalty based on what had transpired in the pits there. Obviously seemed like he was a little frustrated after the race.
And, hey, we got some bonus coverage for you today, baby. We talked about him all race long. Jason Tino having a sensational day in that 250A class, and our very own Zach Herron standing by with him trackside.
Hey guys, yeah, I am down here with Jason Tino. We've been chatting about him all race long. I figured we got to give him a chance to shout out the sponsors, say hey to everybody at home. Jason, man, we were just talking. You were inside the top 10 battling with XC2 and XC1. You said you were just out on a Sunday cruise trying to stay smooth, man. How good does it feel to be up inside the top 10 and take us through your race?
It feels good, but first off, to my hometown buddies at home, I didn't get the whole shot for you, but I got this for you, so I hope you're happy with that. Hold on.
Give him a second, guys. He's been working hard, okay?
All right, still up. Yeah, it was a good day. Got off to a decent start and just picked my way through everybody and was just trying to ace all the ruts and ride smooth. And before I knew it, I was getting pit boards and it was shaping up to be a pretty good day. Give a shout out to Husqvarna and AEO and Moose Racing and everybody that helps get me up here. Couldn't do it without you.
There it is, guys. Jason Tino getting the 250A win. Be on the lookout for him for years to come.
Happy birthday, Sean.
Look at him. He's shouting everybody out. One time. Great job, Jason Tino.
Hey, Tino acting like he's been there before. I like it, boys. And Johnny, he ended up, what, 8th OA?
Yeah, 8th OA, following up 9th overall from the previous race. So 2 top 10s back-to-back. This kid is the real deal and really starting to look like a force coming out of that 250A class.
Well, that's just about going to wrap us up. But first, we got to find out. Ben Kelly, I'll throw it to you first, man. Big thoughts on today? I mean, what was a big takeaway?
Man, it was big momentum swing for Stu Baylor, I think, after winning the last round, coming in here. Didn't have the best start, but, man, he charged hard all day. And, yeah, the guy he needs to beat is the points leader, Johnny Girard, and he did that. So going to the next round, I think Stu's got the momentum.
Johnny?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ben. I mean, the momentum swing with Stu Baylor getting back-to-back wins, and then also that 9-point swing with Johnny ultimately being penalized a position. And in that number 3 spot, that's a big swing in the points. And Stu's now closer than ever than he's been all year in the championship hunt. And also shout out to Craig DeLong, man, 2nd place today. That's a great ride for the defending champ and starting to get a little momentum of his own.
Yeah, that was going to be mine. Craig DeLong, man, I wanted to show him some love, give him a shout-out. He has certainly had all of the struggles and then some so far this season. So for him to have back-to-back races, those building block races, great things to come. And sounds like we're racing pretty much next door to home for him in the next round. We'll be on to Powerline Park. We return. GNCC returns to Powerline Park. It's been a few years, I think maybe 2019 if I'm not mistaken. But we're going back. We'll be there May 11th and 12th, and we'll be up to the Mason-Dixon or over to the Mason-Dixon for round 8. Don't forget to check out those highlight episodes airing on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. on Racer TV. That is going to wrap us up here today from the AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC. On behalf of Jackson Burrell, Zach Herron, Johnny Gallagher, Ben Kelly, our camera operators, JC, Matt, Josh, Mike, Leah, Kirsten, and Ryan, our drone pilot, Gabe Scholl, manager, Dan Reinhardt, spotter, Hollywood, our engineer in charge, Jordan McFadden, our director, Don Hampton, producer, Adam Gordon, and our executive producer, Miss Carrie Jo Russell. I'm Mikey Waynes. We'll see you at the races.